Grandma died peacefully, they said. But when I was sorting through her things 3 days after the funeral, I found a yellowed letter hidden in the lining of her jewelry box. If you're reading this, run. Your grandfather wasn't the war hero they told you about. He was the executioner of our village. God forgive me for keeping this secret. My name is Thessaly Varden, 32 years old. History teacher at a high school in Portland, Oregon. My grandmother Nephilee had died at 93, in her bed, surrounded by family. Smiling, my uncle said, at peace, after a long and full life. Widowed since 1995 when my grandfather Quillen died, a World War II veteran, a decorated hero, or so we thought. She was alone in her house. My parents had returned to Seattle, my uncles and aunts to their cities. I offered to stay the week to sort through her belongings, decide what to keep, what to donate, what to sell. No one else wanted the task, too painful so soon after the funeral. But I needed to be there, in his house, among his things, processing the loss. Nafeel had been my favorite person, the one who told me stories, taught me to bake, listened to me when no one else did. It was Tuesday, 3 p.m. on a rainy November afternoon. The house smelled like her. Lavender, homemade bread, something sweet and old. I'd started in the bedroom, her dressing table, old perfumes, cosmetics from another era, and the jewelry box, carved wood, heavy, with small drawers. I opened it. Necklaces, bracelets, earrings, nothing expensive, but each piece had a story. Or so I thought. Then I noticed the lining of the top drawer was loose, lifted up in one corner, as if someone had opened it, closed it, many times. I pulled on the lining. Underneath, an envelope, yellowed, fragile, unmarked except for one word in Nephilee's shaky handwriting. Truth. My hands trembled as I opened it, took out the letter, thin paper, 3 pages, written in ink that had faded but was still legible. My dear Thessaly, if you're reading this, it means that I finally had the courage to leave it for you, or that I died before I could destroy it, as I promised myself so many times. Your grandfather, Quillen Varden, was not who he said he was. That was not his real name. He was not American by birth. He was not a war hero. He was Kriegler Vaduva, from a small village in the Balkans. During the war, not the one we told you about, but before, during the ethnic cleansing of the early 1940s. He was part of a militia, a death squad. They massacred entire villages, families, children, the elderly, men, women. It didn't matter, only their blood, their religion, their different language. He led one of those squads, the most brutal one. They called him the Butcher of Dalmatia. After the war, when the Allies began searching for war criminals, he fled. He stole the identity of a dead American soldier, Quillen Varden, a boy from Iowa who died in Normandy with no close family. He used black market connections, fake papers, and he emigrated to America. We met in 1948. I was a refugee, also from the Balkans, from a village 50 kilometers from his. I didn't know who he was. Not at first. He was charming, attentive. I fell in love. We got married. We had your father and your uncles. I didn't learn the truth until 1963. I found his real documents, hidden, photos, from before, with his uniform, his weapon, and something else, a diary, where he had kept track of every person he killed, with his own hands, or supervised, 347 names, crossed off, like a completed shopping list. I confronted him. He admitted everything. He said he was young, following orders, that the past was dead, that he was a different man now, and maybe he was. As a husband, as a father, he was good, gentle, never violent. But how could I forgive? How could I forget that the hands that held me had strangled children? I wanted to leave him. But your uncles were young. Your father was on his way, and I was afraid that if I exposed him, he would kill me. Me, the children, to protect his secret. so I kept quiet for decades, living with a monster, knowing a truth that no one else knew. When he died in 1995, I felt relief, finally free, but also guilt for everyone I deceived, for the secret I kept, for letting him die as a hero instead of the monster he was. I don't know if I should tell you, if this knowledge will burden you with his crimes, but you deserve to know, because his blood runs in our veins. And maybe, just maybe, the victims deserve for someone to know, for someone to remember. The actual documents are hidden in the attic, in a box labeled Christmas 1960. Back there, behind the decorations. If you find them, make up your mind, expose him posthumously, or let the story die with us. Forgive me. Your loving grandmother, Nephili. I dropped the letter. My hands were shaking violently. The room was spinning. Nausea rose in my throat. No. It couldn't be true. Quillen, my grandfather, the man who took me fishing, who taught me to play chess, who secretly gave me candy, who told stories of his days in the army with quiet pride, mass murderer, war criminal, impossible. But the handwriting was Nephili's, unmistakable, and the pain in every word, the guilt, the weight of decades of secrecy. It was real. I needed to see the documents to confirm or disprove. I went up to the attic, the retractable ladder creaking. The space was cramped, dusty, boxes everywhere, 70 years of life accumulated. I searched. Christmas 1960. I found the box, large, faded cardboard, at the back, behind other boxes with decorations. I brought it down, heavy. I took it to the bedroom. Better light, more space. I opened it. On top, old Christmas decorations, baubles, lights, garlands below. Wrapped in cloth. Another box, smaller, metal, no lock but sealed with old tape. I opened it, and my world collapsed. Photos, dozens, black and white, of a man in uniform, not American, different, with emblems I recognized from my history classes. Balkan fascist militias. The man was young, in his 20s, but his eyes, cold, dead, and his face. I recognized it. It was Quillen. Younger, thinner, but definitely him, in some photos. He posed with other men, all armed, smiling, next to burned buildings, bodies visible at the edges of the frames. In others, he held weapons, knives, ropes, like trophies. My stomach churned. I ran to the bathroom. I threw up, violently, until I was empty. I returned to the bedroom, shaking, but I needed to know everything. In the box, more things, documents, in Cyrillic and German. I couldn't read most of them, but some recognizable names, Kriegler Veduva, and a title, Commandant. And the diary, black leather notebook, yellowed pages, the handwriting, the same I had seen in birthday letters Quillen sent me. I started reading. Dates, places, and names. So many names. March 15th, 1942, village of Kravis, 23 executed, minimal resistance, improved efficiency. June 8th, 1942, Srebrenik, 47 eliminated, includes 12 children, necessary to prevent future revenge. September 2nd, 1942, Bijeljina, 89 processed. Method of hanging slower than ideal, adjust for next operation. Page after page, year after year, meticulous accounting of personal genocide. And at the end of each entry, the names, crossed out with a red line. Miroslav Kovac, Yelena Kovac, Nikola Kovac, age 7, Maria Kovac, age 4, entire families. Erased and documented as an achievement. The horror was physical. Each name was a punch to the stomach. Each entry revealed greater depths of monstrosity. This was my grandfather, the blood that ran in my veins, the man who raised me, who I loved. I continued searching through the box. I found something else, on manila, with jewelry. I took them out, gold necklace with pendant, engraved, to Sophia, with love, MK, wedding ring. Engraved inside, J&M, forever. silver bracelet, initials, NP, pocket watch, engraved, to Dragan for 25 years of faithful service. Trophies, taken from victims, kept as souvenirs. Tears streamed down my face. I couldn't stop shaking. I wanted to believe it was a mistake, confusion, that Nephili had been senile, confused. But the evidence was overwhelming, unquestionable. My grandfather was a mass murderer, a war criminal who escaped justice, and my family, all of us, we had lived with his lie, benefited from his crime. Then I remembered something. The letter mentioned it. Neighbor. Name that matched victim. I searched the diary. The names. There were hundreds. I scanned pages. And there. Entry from August 1943. Village of Tuzla, 34 eliminated. Includes Petrovich family. Stubborn to the end. Satisfactory. And the names. Radovan Petrovich. Anna Petrovich. Stefan Petrovich. Age 15. Petrovich. The name of Nephili's neighbor. Oberon Petrovich. A man in his 60s. He lived 3 houses down. He had always been strange to me, looking at me with something in his eyes, something I could never identify. Coincidence. Or, I checked more documents. I found something. Immigration record. Oberon Petrovich. Arrived in the United States in 1995. The same year, Quilin died. From the same region in the Balkans. From Tuzla. My blood ran cold. It wasn't a coincidence. Had he come looking for Quilin? Had he been watching, waiting? And now, with Nephili dead, I was the one left, in this house, alone. I looked out the window, down the street. Petrovich's house visible, and in his window, a light, and a shadow. Someone standing, looking this way. Panic struck me. I needed to get out. Now, pack these things, leave. Decide what to do from a safe place. I put everything in the box. The documents, the photos, the diary, the stolen jewelry. I closed it. I took it to my car, in the garage. I went back for my suitcase, my laptop, my personal things. I needed a few minutes, just a few minutes. Then I would go. I was in the bedroom, packing, when I heard it. The front door, opening, closing. I froze, my heart pounding. I had locked it, I was sure. How? Hello, I called, my voice trembling. Who's there? Footsteps. In the living room, slow, deliberate, toward the stairs. Thessaly Varden, a male voice, with an accent, heavy, Eastern European. We need to talk. I looked for my phone, to call the police. It wasn't there. I had left it in the kitchen, downstairs, trapped, on the second floor, with an intruder downstairs. I don't know who you are, I shouted, but you have to leave. I already called the police. You didn't. Footsteps began to climb. Your phone is here, on the table. I can see it. Shit. I needed a weapon. Something. I searched. In the room. Nothing useful. The footsteps reached the second floor hallway. Approaching the bedroom. I closed the door. I locked it. Weak. Just a simple latch. It wouldn't stop anyone determined. Please open up, the voice on the other side. I'm not here to hurt you, just to talk. About your grandfather, about the truth. Who is this? My name is Evander Petrovich. I live on this street. I knew your grandmother and your grandfather, although he didn't know who I really was. The neighbor. God. It was the neighbor. What do you want? Justice. Truth. Recognition. Your grandfather destroyed my family. He killed my parents, my older brother, when I was 5 years old. Too young to understand. Too young to remember clearly, but old enough to know that the man in uniform, the one who ordered their deaths, had a face I would never forget. I'm sorry, really. But that has nothing to do with me. I didn't know. I know. His voice softer. I read Nephili's letter. Before you arrived, I have a key. She gave it to me, in case of emergency. I searched the house, after the funeral, looking for what I had always looked for. Proof. Confirmation that Quilin Varden was Kriegler Vadova. And I found her letter. To you. So I waited. to see if you would find it, if you would know. Have you been watching? For years, since I arrived in 1995, I spent decades tracking him, following leads, survivors who remembered, leaked documents, and finally, I found him. Here, in Portland, living as a respectable American, with a family, with a life he built on the ashes of mine. Why didn't you go to the authorities? With what? A 5-year-old's memory? No documents? No proof? I tried. No one listened. War criminal from a forgotten conflict. Too old to prosecute. Too difficult to prove. So I waited. I watched. Looking for evidence, but Quillen was careful. He never left anything where I could find it. Until now. Until Nefel, in her guilt, left the truth for you. What do you want from me? Open the door. Let me see the documents. Let me take photos. So that finally, after 80 years, I can tell the story. Expose the monster. Give the victims their names back. It sounded reasonable, but my instincts screamed danger, because even if his story was true, even if he was right to seek justice, I carried the killer's blood. I was a direct descendant, and revenge. Revenge doesn't always distinguish. If I open it, I said, do you promise not to hurt me? I didn't come to hurt. I came to remember, but I need you to understand. Your family, your comfortable life, your education, everything, built on stolen fortune, on stolen lives. Those jewels you found, they belonged to my mother. The necklace, it was a gift from my father. The ring, her wedding band, Quillen took them from her corpse. Oh God, the jewels in the box, in my car. I have them, I admitted. The jewelry, the documents, everything in my car, you can keep them. All of them. Just please, let me go. Go where? Run away like he did? Pretend nothing happened? No, I would expose the truth, I promise you. I would write about it, I would contact historians, international courts, whatever it takes, but I need time to process it, to understand it. Silence. Then, open the door, slowly. I want to see your face. See if you lie like he lied. With trembling hands, I unlocked the door, turned the knob, opened it. Evander Petrovich was there, tall, thin, gray hair, furrowed face, eyes, God, his eyes, filled with so much pain, so much rage held back for decades. In his hand, he was holding something, a photo. He showed it to me. It was me, maybe 6 years old, sitting on Quillen's lap at Christmas, smiling, happy, innocent. I found this, he said, in the family album, in the living room, while I was waiting. And you know how it made me feel, seeing her. So happy, with him, the man who took that possibility away from me, of having a grandfather, a father, a family. I'm sorry, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. I'm so sorry. You're sorry. Or do you just feel like you've been caught with a blood inheritance? Both. I don't know. This is too much. I just found out an hour ago. I haven't processed. 80 years, her voice rose. I've waited 80 years for truth, for recognition. And you need time to process. I backed away, toward the window, looking for escape. But I was on the second floor. Jumping would break something. He advanced. You know the worst, what I never told anyone, because the shame was too much. My brother, Stefan, he was 15. Quillen didn't just execute him, he tortured him first, to get information about local resistance for hours. While my family listened, bound, crying, begging, and when he finally died, Quillen laughed. He said something like, "One less." Please, I begged. I didn't do anything, I'm not him. But you carry his name, his blood, his legacy, and you enjoy a life he stole. Is that fair? Is that right? No, it's not fair. None of this is fair, but hurting me doesn't fix anything. It doesn't bring your family back. No. He dropped the photo, but it makes it feel real. That someone else bleeds like we bleed. He took something out of his pocket. A knife, small but sharp. Terror paralyzed me. No. Please, I'll do anything. I'll say anything, but no. Please. Anything. Like Nephili, who kept quiet for 60 years. Like your father, who probably suspected but never asked. Like you, who found the truth, and your first instinct was to pack up and run away. I was going to expose him, I swear. You swear. With what? With family honor. You don't have any. With blood, it's stained. He moved closer, knife raised. Then, sound. Downstairs. Front door opening, voice calling. Thessaly, are you here? I forgot my coat in. My father. He had returned, for something he had forgotten. Evander froze, looking at me, then toward the stairs, decision calculating in his eyes. Dad, I shouted, upstairs. Help. Footsteps running, stairs. My father appeared, confusion on his face, looking at Evander, at me, the knife. What the hell is going on? This man, I gasped. It's Petrovich, the neighbor. He broke in. He threatened me. I threatened. Evander interrupted, his voice calm now. Because your daughter discovered the truth. About Quillen. About who he really was. What he did. And I thought he deserved to feel some of the pain he caused. My father looked between us. What is he talking about? What truth? Dad, my voice breaking. Downstairs. In my car. There's a box. You need to see it. Everything. Quillen. He wasn't who we said he was. He was... No. My father, shouting. I don't want to know. Whatever it is, I don't want to know. You must know, Evander said. Because your silence, Nefel's, the whole family's. It's complicity. It's allowing a monster to die a hero. My father was a good man. Kind. Generous. He was a mass murderer. Evander's voice was sharp. He killed 347 people. With his own hands. Meticulously documented in his diary, which is now in his daughter's possession, along with photos, documents, and jewelry stolen from my dead parents. My father staggered, as if the words were physical blows. No, it can't be. He couldn't. But he did. And I'm sorry. I really am. I understand that this destroys everything you believed in, but imagine, for a moment, how I feel, having known and watched while you lived happily, oblivious, benefiting. My father fell against the wall, his face gray. Did Nephili know? Since 1963, I said softly. There's a letter, to me. It explains everything. And she never said anything. She was afraid of him, of losing family, of everything. Evander put the knife away. I'm not going to hurt anyone, not today, but I need the documents, the photos, everything, to finally tell the truth, give the victims recognition, even if it's 80 years late. You'll have them, I promised. Everything. I'll cooperate fully. With any investigation, trial, whatever. But please, just leave now. Let us process this as a family. He looked at me, long, hard. I have your word. You do? Because if you run, if you destroy evidence, I'll come back. And next time, I won't be gentle. I understand. No, you don't understand, but you will. When the world knows. When your family's name is synonymous with atrocity. When every achievement is overshadowed by a legacy of blood. Then, you'll understand. He left, down the stairs, door closing behind him. My father and I remained, in silence, the weight of revelation crushing us. Is it true? He finally asked. All of it. Yes. Show me. We went downstairs, to the car. I took out the box. We carried it into the living room. We opened it. Together we looked through it. Every photo, every document, every name in the diary. My father cried, deep sobs, of a man whose entire world had collapsed. How? He whispered. How could I not have known? Because you didn't want to. Because it's easier to believe in a hero than a monster. What do we do now? What Evander asked. We expose the truth. We contact historians, journalists, courts. We let the world know. It will destroy our family, our name, everything. It's already destroyed. Only we didn't know it. Now we have to decide whether we continue with the lie or face the truth. My father looked at the photo, the one of Evander, of me with Quillen, at Christmas. He was so happy, he murmured, in this photo. And he, Quillen, he seemed so normal, loving. How can someone be both? I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. That's why it's so terrifying. Because monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they look like grandparents who teach you chess and give you candy. That night, we didn't sleep. We went over everything. We made plans. We contacted a lawyer, a historian specializing in war crimes, an investigative journalist. Within weeks, the story exploded. Oregon war hero was Nazi criminal. Headline in the New York Times, followed by dozens of others. CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera. Our family was publicly torn apart. My father lost his job. My uncles faced harassment. I received death threats from both sides. Those who thought we were traitors for exposing Quillen, and those who thought we were accomplices who should pay too. Evander gave interviews, telling his story, showing the photos, the documents, the jewelry he finally recovered, and slowly, other survivors came forward from villages Quillen had attacked, with their own stories, their own horrors, adding to the count. 347 was only what he had documented. The real number was probably double that. I testified, at hearings, in documentaries, telling what I knew, admitting what I didn't know, carrying the weight of a legacy I never asked for. Because that's the truth about legacy. You don't choose it. You just carry it, and you decide what to do with it. I could have run away, as Nafile suggested in her letter, destroyed evidence, kept it secret, lived in comfortable ignorance. But Evander was right. That would be complicity. That would be letting the monster win, even after death. So I chose truth, pain, exposure, shame, and every day, I carry the weight of knowing that the blood of 300 victims is in my lineage, that every privilege I enjoyed, every opportunity, was built on fortune stolen from the dead. There is no redemption for that. There is no way to pay that debt. There is only acknowledgement, truth, and a commitment to never, ever allow history to be buried again, because the dead deserve to be remembered by their names, their lives, not just as statistics in a murderer's diary. And the living deserve to know that monsters exist, that they can hide behind smiles, uniforms, respectable lives, and that when you discover one in your own family, in your own blood, you can't just run away. You have to face it, expose it, and carry the weight of that truth for the rest of your life. That is my legacy, not invented heroism, but real monstrosity, and the responsibility to ensure that it is never forgotten. I always thought my twin brother died at birth, until while cleaning out my parents' basement during their move to Florida, I opened the forbidden album hidden behind dusty boxes and saw his face, identical to mine, smiling in photos from 20 years ago, in moments I didn't remember living. My name is Caspian Merrick, 32 years old, architect in Boston, only child. Or so I had been told my whole life. The family story was simple, tragic, but clear. My mother, Saffron, had had twins. I survived. My brother, they never named him, they said, because he died too quickly, did not. Complicated delivery. One of those medical accidents that no one can predict. We rarely talked about it. Too painful for my parents, especially for Mom. It was Saturday, mid-October. My parents, Saffron and Quillen, were moving to Tampa after retiring. They had asked me to help them sort through decades of accumulated belongings in their Newton home. 3 days of work. I had taken the weekend off. My wife Nefeli stayed in Boston with our 2-year-old son. The basement was a catacomb of family history, boxes labeled with years. 1985, 1990, 1991, 1995, Christmas decorations, baby clothes stored sentimentally, photo albums no one had looked at in years. I was sorting through them, deciding what to keep, what to donate, when I found it. Behind a box of Christmas ornaments, another box, unlabeled, sealed with old tape that had turned yellow. Something about it stopped me. It was hidden, deliberately, in a dark corner, behind other things, as if they didn't want anyone to find it. I opened it. Inside, albums, 3 of them, leather, with years engraved on them, 1992, 1994, 1995, 1997, 1998, 2000. Strange, because upstairs with the official family albums, there were albums from exactly those years. Why duplicates? Why hidden? I opened the first one, 1992, 1994. The first pages showed a baby, newborn, in the hospital, with my mother, my father, smiling, tired but happy, normal, except the date. It said April 1992. My birthday was March 1992. A clerical error. Or, I continued, more baby photos, coming home, in a crib, first months. And something was wrong. I couldn't pinpoint what. But the photos felt different. The house, the background, it didn't quite match the house I grew up in. Then, one photo stopped me. Baby, maybe 6 months old, with my parents, in a living room I didn't recognize, and in the background, visible on the wall, a calendar. May 1992. Impossible. In May 1992. I was 2 months old, but this baby looked like he was 6. I turned more pages. The child growing up. First year. Walking, playing, smiling. And then, a photo that made my blood run cold. The child, maybe 18 months old, playing with blocks, in a t-shirt, invisible. A scar on his right shoulder, small, crescent-shaped. I touched my right shoulder. Nothing, no scar. My skin was clear there. I continued. More photos. The child was growing up, 2 years old, 3, and the scars. More visible in some photos. The one on his shoulder. Another small one on his left knee. Marks that my body did not have. My heart began to race. This did not make sense. Photos of me, but with scars I did not have, in a house I did not completely recognize, with dates that did not match, unless. They weren't photos of me. I grabbed the second album, 1995, 1997. More photos. The older boy, 5, 6, 7 years old, with my parents, in places that looked familiar but slightly different, as if they were alternate versions of my memories. In one photo, the boy, maybe 6 years old, in a park, smiling, and I remembered that park, Jefferson Park in Newton. I had been there hundreds of times as a child, but I didn't remember this photo, this specific day, this moment. I looked closer. The boy was wearing a blue shirt with a dinosaur on it. I didn't remember that shirt. I never had one like that. I preferred red. I always preferred red. In his eyes, looking at the camera, there was something in his expression, different. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it wasn't my look. The third album, 1998-2000. The boy, 8, 9. 10 years old, and then the photo stopped, abruptly. The last one, the boy, maybe 10 years old, on Halloween, dressed up as a vampire, smiling, with a trick-or-treat pumpkin. Handwritten date, October 31st, 2000. And after that photo, blank pages, the rest of the album, empty. What happened in November 2000? Why did the photos stop? Then I remembered something, my memories, the earliest ones. They started around 10 years old, 11. Nothing clear before that. Fragments, blurry images, but nothing solid. I always thought it was normal, that most people don't remember much before a certain age. But now, with these photos, this evidence of a life I didn't remember, A child who looked like me but wasn't. Panic began to rise. What was I looking at? What did it mean? I searched the box. There was more. Documents, envelopes. I took them out. Birth certificates, 2 of them, both for babies born in March 1992. One said Caspian Merrick, the other. The name was crossed out with black marker, illegible but visible. Twin A, Twin B, and next to the crossed out name, a handwritten note. In my mother's handwriting, Dagny. We called him Dagny for 3 days. Dagny. My dead brother had a name, but I'd been told he didn't, that he died too quickly to be named. Why lie about that? I kept searching. I found a manila envelope with newspaper clippings. I took them out, spread them out on the dusty basement floor. The first clipping, from the Boston Globe, April 1992. 2-month-old boy missing from Brookline residence, the article described. The Ashford family. Parents, Evander and Isolde. Their son, 2-month-old boy, missing from their home. In the middle of the night, back door forced open. Empty crib, no signs of a struggle except that, and a photo of the missing baby, taken days earlier, small, grainy from being a newspaper photocopy, but recognizable. He looked like me, or how I looked in baby photos in the official family albums. The ones upstairs, the ones that weren't hidden. The baby's name, Oberon Ashford. More clippings, follow-ups on the case for months. The Ashford family pleading for their son's return, police investigating, no leads, no suspects. The case going cold, eventually filed as unsolved. The last clipping, from 1995, 3 years later. Ashford family moves from Massachusetts. Search for missing son continues. The parents, too traumatized to stay. They moved to California, where Isolde's mother lived, to start over. Although they never stopped searching, my mind was spinning, trying to process, to connect the dots, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to reach the obvious conclusion. Horrible, impossible, but the evidence. It was there, right in front of me, the photos in hidden albums of a child who looked like me but wasn't me, the birth certificates showing twins, one died, one survived, the clippings of a missing baby who looked like me, the dates, baby missing in April 1992, a month after my brother Dagny supposedly died, and the photos starting in April 1992, continuing until 2000, then stopping, and my memories starting around 2000, 10 years. Nothing clear before that. Oh God, no. My parents, they had lost a child. Dagny, my twin, he really died. In March 1992. And then, a month later, they stole another baby. From the Ashford family, a baby of similar age, with similar appearance, to replace me. No, to replace Dagny. And they raised me, the stolen child, as their son, as Caspian Merrick, when in reality, I was Oberon Ashford. The basement spun. Nausea rose in my throat. My knees buckled. I fell, sitting hard on the concrete floor. No, it couldn't be true. My parents, Saffron and Quillen, they were good people, loving, normal, not criminals, not kidnappers, but the evidence didn't lie. And the real Caspian, the baby who survived, their biological son. What happened to him? I looked at the photos again, the child growing up until age 10. Then nothing. Had they? No, they couldn't have, unless they gave him up for adoption, secretly, to cover up the switch, to make sure no one asked why they suddenly had 2 children, or worse. Something I didn't want to contemplate. I needed answers. I needed to confront my parents, but they were upstairs, in the kitchen, packing dishes, laughing about something, no idea that their son, their stolen son, had just discovered the truth. How to face this, how to ask without what? Without alerting them, without giving them a chance to lie more, to destroy evidence. I needed more proof, more confirmation before accusing. I looked in the box again. There was an envelope. At the bottom, I opened it. Legal documents, adoption papers. No, not adoption. Something more shady. Birth certificate, apparently forged, for Caspian Merrick, dated March 1992. But the paper was newer, as if it had been created later. And on the back, a note. In my father's handwriting, contact confirmed. $50,000. Documents ready for May. New identity complete. They had paid for false documentation to turn Oberon Ashford into Caspian Merrick. And below, another note, more recent, from the 2000s. Hospital records of twins' birth sealed. No one can access without a court order. We are safe. They had been meticulous, covering their tracks, making sure the truth stayed buried. But they made a mistake. They kept evidence. These albums, these documents. Why? Sentiment, guilt, insurance against blackmail. It didn't matter. I had it now, and I needed it. Needed what? To go to the police? With what? Evidence of a 30-year-old crime, statute of limitations, and risk destroying my family, the only family I knew. Because even if Saffron and Quillen weren't my biological parents, even if they stole me, they raised me, they loved me, right? Or was it all a lie? An act to cover up a crime? My phone vibrated in my pocket. Text message, unknown number. Normally, I would ignore it. Probably spam. But something made me look. The message read, "Brother, I found you. Mom and Dad lied, but I'm not giving up." The phone fell from my hands, hitting the concrete floor, the screen cracking. Brother. Who? How? With trembling hands, I picked up the phone. I replied, "Who is this?" The 3 dots appeared. Someone typing, then, "I'm Caspian, the real one, your twin. Well, you're almost twin. We were born a month apart, but we were raised to believe we were brothers, until I discovered the truth." My heart was pounding so hard I could hear my pulse in my ears. What truth? That I was given up for adoption when I was 10, no real explanation. They just said they couldn't take care of me anymore. But I always knew something was wrong, that the story didn't make sense, so I started investigating, years ago, and I found out everything. The records they thought were sealed, the payments, the connections. Where are you? Outside your parents' house, in Newton, waiting to finally meet the brother they took from me, the child who took my place. The terror was visceral. He was here, outside, now. What do you want? To talk, to understand, to know my story, because they stole as much from me as they did from you, my childhood, my parents, my identity, and I want to know why. Why they chose me to discard when they brought you in. I climbed the stairs, slowly, trying to control my panic. In the kitchen, my parents were still laughing, wrapping dishes in newspaper. Mom, Dad. My voice sounded strange, distant. We need to talk. Saffron turned around, her smile fading when she saw my expression. What's wrong, honey? Are you okay? I found it, in the basement, a box. The color drained from her face. She looked at Quillen, who had frozen, plate in his hands, eyes wide. What box? Quillen tried, his voice casual, but trembling slightly. The box with the albums, the hidden ones, the photos of the other child, the clippings about Oberon Ashford, the documents about twins, everything. Saffron let out a sound, half sob, half moan. She leaned against the counter. Caspian, Quillen began. I can explain. Don't call yourself that. The voice behind me. I turned. A man standing in the doorway, 30-something. My height, my build, my face, almost exact, except for the scar on his shoulder, visible beneath his short sleeve. And something in his eyes, harder, more wounded. That's my name, he continued. You took it from me, along with my parents, my life. I didn't take anything, I managed to say. I was a baby. I know. His voice softening slightly. I don't blame you. You. But them. He pointed at Saffron and Quillen. They did this. They destroyed 3 families. My biological family who are still looking for me. Yours, who lost a real child. And my adoptive family where I ended up after they discarded me like a broken toy. It wasn't like that, Saffron whispered, tears streaming down her face. We lost Dagny, our baby, and we couldn't bear it. We were devastated. And when we saw the opportunity, when we found another baby, of similar age, we thought, God forgive us, we thought we could replace him. And me, the real Caspian. What was going to happen to me, to your real biological son? We loved you, Quillen said, we really did. But when we brought him home, things got complicated. 2 children, to explain. And you started remembering things, asking questions. About before, about memories that didn't match the story we were telling. And we were afraid that you would find out, that you would expose us, so we made a horrible decision. We put you up for adoption. We said it was for financial reasons, but it was to protect the secret. They discarded me, Caspian's voice breaking, to protect the stolen child, because I was inconvenient. We're sorry, Saffron sobbed. We're so sorry. It was the worst decision, the worst sin. But we were terrified and mad with grief, and we made unforgivable mistakes. I could only stare between them. Between these people I thought were my parents, and this man who was. What? My brother, my replacement, my victim, and my real parents, I asked. The Ashfords. What do you know about them? They searched for years, Caspian replied. They never stopped. Evander died 5 years ago. Cancer. But Isolde, your biological mother, she's still alive, in San Diego. She still has your room, intact, as if waiting for you, with baby photos of you, before you were stolen. The room was spinning. I had biological parents, a living mother, who had been searching for 30 years, who never gave up, who kept my room waiting for a return that never came. And a name. Oberon Ashford. That was my real name, my stolen identity, replaced with Caspian Merrick, a life built on a foundation of crime. What do you want? I asked Caspian, the real one. Revenge, justice, to destroy us all? I wanted that, he admitted, for years. Ever since I discovered the truth at 20, I've been planning, investigating, waiting for the right moment. But then, I had children of my own, and I understood. Something about forgiveness, about breaking cycles. So what? I want Isolde to know that her son is alive, that she can meet you before she dies. She's 73. She doesn't have much time left. She deserves closure. And what about me? My life, my wife, my son? Do I tell them it's all a lie? That I don't even know who I am? I don't know, Caspian said. I don't have easy answers. Only truth and choice. What you do with it. I looked at Saffron and Quillen, broken, crying, waiting. What? Forgiveness, condemnation? Did you love me? I asked. Ever? Or was it all just a way to keep Dagny's replacement? We loved you, Saffron insisted. From the moment we brought you here, you became ours. Completely. Yes, it started for the wrong reasons, horrible, criminal. But the love, that was real. How can I believe anything they say? My whole life was a lie. Not all of it, Quillen said. The moments, the experiences, those were real. Just the beginnings, the foundation, that was built on sand. On crime, I corrected. On a stolen baby and a discarded child and 30 years of deception. Silence. Heavy. No one knowing what to say next. Then Caspian spoke. I have Isolde's number. If you want it, I can give it to you, or I can contact her first, explain, prepare her. Your decision. My decision. What decision was there? My entire world had exploded in one afternoon. Every certainty destroyed, Every memory questioned. Who was I? Caspian Merrick, Oberon Ashford, a mixture of both, neither, and my family. Nifel, my wife. Did I tell her? How? Oh, by the way, I was stolen as a baby and my entire identity is a legal fraud. And my son. What did this mean for him? That his grandparents were criminals. That his father wasn't who he said he was. I need time, I managed to say. To process, think. I understand, Caspian nodded. Take all the time you need. But Isolde doesn't have much. If you're going to meet her, it should be soon. What about you? I looked at my family, at Saffron and Quillen. Are you going to confess, face legal consequences? They looked at each other. Then Quillen spoke. If that's the price of your forgiveness, of Caspian's, of trying to repair even a small part of the damage, then yes, we will confess. I don't want your forgiveness, Caspian said. I want you to live with what you did, every day, for the rest of your lives, knowing that you destroyed families, lives, futures. That's a worse sentence than any prison. He left, leaving his number on the table, the door closing behind him, leaving us, 3 people in the kitchen, bound together by ties of crime rather than blood, trying to figure out how to move forward when the past was so toxic. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my old room at my parents' house, my childhood room that I now knew was decorated for a different child, for Dagny, then repurposed for me, for Oberon, for the stolen baby who became Caspian. I stared at the ceiling, thinking about the mother I never knew, Isolde, who kept my room for 30 years, who never stopped searching, who deserved to know that her son survived, even if he was different, even if he wasn't really hers anymore. And I thought about Caspian, the real one, who was discarded at 10, who grew up knowing he was replaced, who spent 2 decades searching for the truth, who had every right to be filled with hatred but chose something different. And I thought of myself, Oberon, Caspian, whoever he was, a 32-year-old man without an anchor, without certainty of identity, only horrible knowledge of criminal origins. The next morning, I called Isolde, hands shaking, dialing the number Caspian left. She answered after 3 rings. Hello? Hello, my name is... Well, they called me Caspian, but I think my name was Oberon, and I think you're my mother. Silence. Then, the sound of crying, deep sobs of 30 years of pain being released. Oberon, she whispered. My baby, my son, I found you, I finally found you. Or you found me. I'm not sure how it works exactly. It doesn't matter, just, are you okay? Were you happy? Did they hurt you? I'm confused, angry, lost, but physically I'm fine. And yes, I was, mostly happy. Until now, until I knew. I'm sorry you found out this way. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you. Every day since I lost you has been unbearable. I want to get to know you, if that's okay. I want to understand where I really come from. I'd love to, more than anything. When? Can you come to San Diego? Soon, I need to. Sort some things out here first. With Saffron and Quillen, and with my wife, and everything. I understand. Take your time. I've waited 30 years. I can wait a little longer, just knowing that you're alive, that you're okay. It's all I needed. We ended the call, with vague plans to visit her in a few weeks, to begin the process of getting to know each other, of her meeting her grandson, of rebuilding some of the relationship that was stolen from us. But first, I confronted my parents, my real ones, my biological and legal ones, the criminals who raised me. You're going to confess, I told them, not a question, an order. You're going to contact the police, the FBI, whoever handles missing children cases, and you're going to tell them everything, give them all the documents, all the names of those who helped you, everything. Caspian, Saffron began. Oberon, I corrected her. My name is Oberon. It always was. Caspian was a disguise they forced on a stolen child. Oberon, she agreed, pain visible on her face as she used the name of the son she did not raise. If we do that, we'll go to prison, probably for the rest of our lives. I know, and they deserve worse, but it's the only way to any kind of closure, not forgiveness. I'll never forgive them, but closure, for Isolde, for the Ashfords who lost their son, for Caspian who lost his parents, for me who lost everything. Quillen nodded. We'll do it, tomorrow. We'll go to the authorities. We'll confess everything. And I added, I'm going to, I don't know what exactly, but I can't go on living as Caspian Merrick. That name is tainted, built on crime. I need to find a way to be Oberon again, or someone new, someone honest. That night, I told Nephili everything. Sitting in our living room in Boston while our son slept upstairs, I showed her documents, photos, clippings. She cried, for me, for the impossible situation, for the uncertain future. What do we do? She asked. I don't know. Legally, I can probably change my name back to Oberon Ashford, reconnect with Isolde, with my original identity. But everything else, my career, my credentials, is all under the name Caspian Merrick. I don't know how to untangle it all. We'll figure it out, she promised, together step by step. What about my parents? When they get arrested, when the truth comes out, the whole town will know. Everyone knows us. They know the Merrick family. Then we'll move, start over, where no one knows us, where you can be Oberon without the burden of Merrick history. You'd do that? Leave everything behind? For you. For the truth, for an honest life, yes, I'd do that. The next few days were a whirlwind. Saffron and Quillen kept their promise. They confessed to the FBI. They were arrested. The case exploded in the news. Massachusetts couple confesses to kidnapping infant 30 years ago. Caspian, the real one. He gave interviews, telling his story, of being discarded at 10, of searching for the truth, of finally finding me, and me, Oberon. I gave my own interview, limited, explaining my perspective, the shock of discovery, the identity crisis, the process of reconnecting with Isolde, the Merricks, my real adoptive family, the ones who raised Caspian after the adoption. They reached out, expressing support, saying he had always felt disconnected, that now they understood why. And Isolde, she flew to Boston. We met her at a neutral cafe. When I saw her, something inside, recognized, not consciously but cellularly, as if my body remembered what my mind couldn't. She hugged me, crying, touching my face. You're so beautiful, so grown up, my baby, my Oberon. And for the first time, the name felt right. It felt like mine, not stolen, not a disguise. Mine. We spent a week together, getting to know each other. She told me about Evander, the father I never knew, about my extended family, my roots. And I told her about my life, about Nephili, about my son, her grandson, about the career I had built, the life I was living, albeit under the wrong name. It wasn't the wrong life, she corrected me. It was your life, stolen from a horrible beginning, but still yours, still valid. Only now you have more context, more history, more family. Family. How can it be family? We barely know each other. Blood is family, she said simply. And time. We'll spend time building what was stolen from us. It won't be the same. It will never replace 30 lost years. But it will be something real. She returned to San Diego with a promise to visit us, and for us to visit her, beginning the slow process of weaving together broken threads. Saffron and Quillen. They faced charges, lawyers fought, but the evidence was overwhelming. Recorded confessions, documents, everything. It took 6 months. But finally, sentences, 15 years each, for kidnapping, forgery of documents, obstruction of justice. The list went on. I didn't attend the sentencing. I couldn't. Not because I forgave them, but because, seeing them, I remembered everything that was false, everything that was lost, Caspian attended. He told me afterwards that they had both cried, asked for forgiveness from the court, from the Ashfords, from him, from me, not expecting forgiveness, just acknowledging the damage. "Will you forgive them?" he asked me. "Someday." I don't know. Part of me. The part that remembers a happy childhood, that remembers love. That part wants to. But another part, the part that knows the truth, that knows the cost, that part can't. I understand. I haven't forgiven either, but I've let go of some of the anger, because carrying it only hurt me. We became close, Caspian and I, united by shared tragedy, by both being victims of the same crime, although in different ways. He with his stolen name and parents who discarded him, me with my stolen identity and parents who weren't mine, twin victims of a crime that destroyed multiple families. That sent shockwaves for decades. I changed my name legally, back to Oberon Ashford, a complicated process requiring court, documents, proof of, everything, but finally achieved. And when I received my new driver's license, new ID, all with the name Oberon Ashford, I felt something like closure, like coming home to myself after a 30-year journey, although the journey had been against my will, to a destination chosen by others, with an identity forced upon me, now, for the first time. It was my choice, my name, my identity, mine. My mother always told me that Dad left for work. But that night, while going through his old room for inheritance purposes, I found his diary hidden in the false bottom of a drawer. The first page chilled me to the bone. March 15th, 1998. I did it again today. She doesn't scream like the others. I wonder how long she'll last. My name is Dagny Roth, 34 years old, accountant in Portland, Oregon, divorced, no children. And until that night in November, I thought I knew my family history. I thought I understood why my childhood had been so strange. The constant moving, my father's absence, my mother's silence on certain topics. My father, Evander Roth, had disappeared when I was 12. 2003. One day he was there, the next he was gone. Mom, Isolda, said he had gotten a job in Alaska, building oil pipelines. No reliable phone signal. He would send money but wouldn't be able to visit us for years. As a child, I accepted it. I missed Dad, but I understood. Or so I thought. The years passed. Dad never came back. He never called. The letters were few and far between and generic. "I miss you, little one. Daddy loves you. Work hard at school." When I turned 18, Mom finally admitted it. Dad wasn't in Alaska. He was in prison. For financial fraud, she said. Ashamed, she had lied to protect me. So I wouldn't carry the stigma of having a criminal father. I accepted it. Angry at the lies, but understanding her motivation. I decided not to contact Dad, to move on, to build my own life without that shadow. Dad died in prison in 2019. I never saw him again after he disappeared. Mom attended the funeral. I didn't, still resentful. Still feeling that his absence had defined too much of my life. And now, 5 years later, Mom had died too. Pancreatic cancer. Fast. 3 months from diagnosis to funeral, which left me, sole heir, to the house in the Seattle suburbs where I had grown up, the house Mom never sold, where she had lived until the end, filled with decades of accumulation, and the task of cleaning it out, sorting, deciding what to keep, what to sell, what to donate. I had taken a week off from work. It was Tuesday. 8 p.m. I had spent the day in common rooms. Now I was in what had been my parents' bedroom, where Mom had slept alone for 21 years after Dad left. The room smelled like her. Lavender and something medicinal. It had been 2 weeks since her death. The smell was already fading. I started with the clothes to donate, shoes. Boxes on top shelves, old documents, family photos, then the dresser, jewelry, old cosmetics, and the drawers. The bottom right drawer got stuck. I pulled harder. It opened, but something was wrong. It was flatter than it should be, as if there were space underneath. I took out the contents, scarves, handkerchiefs. I felt the bottom of the drawer, and I found it. A small latch, hidden in the corner. I pressed it. The false bottom lifted, revealing a compartment underneath. Inside, a book, bound in brown leather. No title, just years engraved on the cover, 1987-2003. I took it out. It was heavy, dense, hundreds of pages. I opened it to a random page. Halfway through, my father's handwriting, unmistakable, angular, tight. July 23rd, 1995. The new neighbor is perfect. Young, lives alone, works night shifts. No one will visit her for weeks. I've been watching, planning. This time will be different, more careful. I've learned from past mistakes. My heart began to pound. What was this? Fiction, some strange writing hobby. I scrolled back to the beginning, the first entry. March 15th, 1998. I did it again today. She doesn't scream like the others. Maybe because the last treatment worked. Or maybe she's too broken to fight. I wonder how long she'll last. The one in October lasted 4 months. This one, maybe longer. My hands were shaking. This couldn't be real. It couldn't be what it seemed. I kept reading, entry after entry, each one more horrible than the last. March 20th, 1998. Had to sedate her again. She got hysterical, screaming for her family. "Please let me go," she said. She doesn't understand that there's no turning back. That once they cross the threshold, they're mine. April 5th, 1998. She's getting weaker. The infection is spreading. I should give her antibiotics, but why prolong it? She's already served her purpose. Tomorrow I'll move her. The usual place. Oh God. Oh God, no. My stomach churned. I ran to the bathroom. I threw up, violently, until I was empty. I sat on the bathroom floor, shaking. This had to be a joke, sick fiction. Dad writing horror stories as a hobby. But the specificity, the dates, the details, it sounded too real, too precise. I went back to the bedroom. I forced myself to keep reading. I needed to understand. The entries continued, years of them, describing God, describing kidnappings, torture, murder. He detailed how he chose his victims, always women alone, with no close family, jobs that kept them isolated. He studied them for weeks, months, learning their routines, waiting for the perfect moment. He described how he lured them, different methods. Sometimes he pretended to be a service worker, plumber, electrician. Other times he pretended there was an emergency. His car broke down. Could he use her phone? And once inside, drugs, and drinks offered, or force when necessary. Then, to the room, which according to the diary was where no one looks, where no one listens. Where in this house had he kept women prisoner? Where had Mom and I lived without knowing? I kept reading, looking for answers, looking for something that said this was fiction, a sick but harmless fantasy. Instead, I found names. June 11th, 1992, Mariska Vogel, 28, nurse, lives in a complex 3 blocks away, night shift 3 times a week. No one will notice her absence for days. Mariska Vogel, the name resonated, familiar, very familiar. I searched my phone. Mariska Vogel missing Seattle, 1992. Results appeared. Unsolved case, 28-year-old nurse, disappeared from her apartment in June 1992. Never found. Family pleaded for information for years. Case eventually closed. The photo in the article. I recognized her. Vaguely. Mom had mentioned her once, as an acquaintance who had suddenly moved away. She hadn't moved. Dad had taken her, and according to the newspaper, He had kept her in the room for 3 months before medical complications killed her. Medical complications, code for torture, for neglect, for slow murder. I searched for another name in the newspaper. September 15th, 1994. Thessaly Crane, 32, social worker, lonely, perfect. I searched. Another unsolved case. Thessaly Crane, disappeared September 1994, worked at Child Protective Services. Her car found abandoned near park. She never found. And according to the diary, she had lasted 5 months, the longest, before Dad, God, before he got tired of her and disposed of her. More names, more searches, more unsolved cases. Nuffield Strand, 24, 1996. Quillen Hayes, 29, 1998. Saffron Mills, 26, 1999. Oberon Ashford, 31, 2001. Each one, an unsolved case, a missing person, a family that never got answers, and all of them, according to the diary, had spent weeks or months in the room before they died. In this house, my house, where I had grown up, played, slept, not knowing that downstairs, or upstairs, or somewhere hidden, my father was holding people prisoner. The horror was overwhelming, not just what he had done, but that he had done it here, under the same roof where his family lived, where his daughter played innocently. Did Mom know? How could she not know? Then I remembered. The moves. We had moved 4 times during my childhood. Always for Dad's work, always suddenly. Were the moves when things got too dangerous? When a victim almost escaped? When neighbors started to get suspicious? In this house, where we had lived from 1997 to 2003, the longest we had stayed in one place, according to the diary. He had had 4 victims during those years. Where? Where had he hidden them? I kept reading. Looking for a description of the room, I found an entry from 1998, when we moved here. The new house is perfect. Isolde thinks the attic is sealed, inaccessible, but there is an entrance, hidden in the study closet. A sliding panel, a narrow staircase, space above the garage that doesn't appear on official plans. From the outside, it looks like a normal ceiling. From the inside, it's my private paradise, soundproof, ventilated. No one will ever know. The attic, above the garage. This house had an attached garage with a flat roof. I'd always assumed it was just empty space, isolation beams. But Dad had turned it into God, a prison, a torture chamber, and Mom. Did she really not know? Or was she pretending not to know, covering her ears when screams filtered through, lying to herself that the sounds were pipes or animals in the walls? I needed to see the attic, to confirm or deny. I went to the study, a small room on the first floor that Dad had used as an office, now full of boxes of Mom's things. The closet was narrow, full of old coats. I took them out. I examined the walls, looking for a hidden panel. There, on the back wall, an almost invisible line, rectangular, 1 meter by 2 meters. I pushed. Nothing. I looked for a latch. I found a small hole in the upper corner. I stuck my fingers in. I pulled. The panel slid open, revealing a staircase, narrow, steep, leading up into darkness. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear my pulse in my ears. Every instinct screamed, "Don't go up. You don't need to see. You already know enough," but I needed to. I needed to confirm, to see with my own eyes. I took out my phone, turned on the flashlight, started climbing. The steps were narrow, dusty, probably unused for years, since 2003, when Dad was arrested, when Mom sealed this place and pretended it didn't exist. I reached the top, a door, with a lock, on the outside, to keep someone in. The lock was open, rusty. I pushed the door. It opened with a creak. The smell hit me, stale, musty, and something else, something organic, decay. I shone my flashlight. The space was exactly as the diary described. Maybe 5 meters by 7. Low ceiling, no windows. The walls. Oh God, the walls. They were stained, dark brown, everywhere. Splatters, Large stains, blood, decades of blood, and in the center, a metal chair bolted to the floor with straps, chains, instruments I didn't want to examine too closely. In one corner, a mattress, dirty, stained, with a chain anchored to the wall, long enough to reach the bathroom. A bucket in another corner. This was hell, where Dad had kept his victims, where he had tortured them, where some had died, and it was above the garage, where I kept my little girl's bike, where I played with chalk, where Dad taught me to skate, meters away, from unimaginable horror. I threw up again, on the attic floor, adding to the stains, to the layers of suffering. I went downstairs, quickly, needing to get out. Fresh air, something clean. I sat on the front steps, cold November biting me. But I couldn't be inside. Not now, not knowing what I knew. How had I lived there, played, slept, without knowing? And Mom must have known. She could not have known. Something, anything. But she never said anything, never warned me, never really protected me. I went back inside. I forced myself. I needed to read more, to understand completely. I went back to the diary. I continued where I had left off. The entries from 2002 were similar. More victims, more suffering, more deaths. Then, something changed. The entries became different. Less about victims, more about me. August 12th, 2002. Dagny is asking questions. She saw something. A scratch on my arm that I couldn't easily explain. A stain on my shirt. She asked where it came from. Said it smelled weird. Like chemicals. I made up a story about paint. But she's more observant. I need to be more careful. I didn't remember this. Had she noticed something? Asked. September 3rd, 2002. The girl is a problem. Dagny has been exploring. She found the door to the study closet. I asked what was behind it. I told her storage, sealed for asbestos. Dangerous. She seemed to accept it. But she's curious, like I was. Worrying. October 15th, 2002. Dagny isn't sleeping well. She says she hears sounds. At night. Like banging. Distant crying. I tell her it's pipes, neighbors, animals in the walls. But she's smart. She'll connect the dots eventually. I remembered this. The sleepless nights. The sounds. Mom and Dad telling me I was imagining things. That they were nightmares. They weren't nightmares. They were the victims. Upstairs. Banging on walls. Crying for help. And me listening. Not understanding. November 7th, 2002. Decision made. I can't risk it anymore. Dagny is too smart. Too curious. What if she finds out? What if she tells someone? It's all over. My freedom. My work. Everything. There are two options. Silence her permanently. Make it look like an accident. Or initiate her. Show her the truth. Make her part of this. Like my father did with me. I haven't decided yet. My blood ran cold. She had considered it. Killing me, his own daughter, to protect his secret. Or worse. Initiate me. Turn me into, what? An accomplice. The next generation of monster. November 20th, 2002, I tested her. A little experiment. I showed her a photo of the current one, of course disguised as a work photo. I watched her reaction. Horror, pity, concern. She asked who she was. If she was okay. If she needed help. She doesn't have the darkness. The emptiness that I have. That my father had. She's too much. Normal. Empathetic. Useless for my purpose. So I decided. I can't initiate her. But I can't kill her either. Isolde would suspect. The police would investigate. Too much risk. Alternative. Leave. Disappear. Start over somewhere else. Leave family behind. Isolde will think I abandoned her. Dagny will grow up without a father, but alive, and I free. That was it. That's why he had disappeared in 2003. Not because he was arrested for fraud, because he chose to live. Before I found out, before I was forced to silence myself, she had saved me, without knowing it, by being too normal, too human. But there was more. The last entries in the diary. December 15th, 2002. Last visit to the room. The one from October must be moved. 6 weeks since she died. Starting to smell even with precautions. Hope Dagny doesn't notice. January 8th, 2003. Preparing to leave. I've contacted my brother Oberon. He knows. He's always known. He helped me with arrangements before. I need one last favor. To watch over Isolde and Dagny. Make sure they don't find out. Erase evidence if necessary. Wait. What? My brother Oberon. Uncle Oberon. Dad's brother. Who visited occasionally. Who was kind. Quiet. Who gave me presents at Christmas. He knew. He had helped. February 15th, 2003. All set. Oberon has keys. Knows where everything is. I gave him instructions. If Isolde or Dagny start asking too many questions, if they find anything, he will intervene. He'll do what's necessary. He doesn't like it. He says this has gone too far, that I should stop. But he's family, and family protects family, even from their own crimes. Uncle Oberon. Not only did he know, he was an accomplice, an enabler, and according to this, he had been watching Mom and me for 20 years, making sure we never found out the truth. How many times had he come to visit but was really checking, looking for signs that we knew, ready to intervene if necessary? Then I remembered. Uncle Oberon had helped Mom, after Dad left, with money, with home repairs, with everything, being the good brother. Or was he paying, making sure Mom didn't investigate too much, keeping her dependent, controlled, and after Mom died, he had offered to help me with the house. He even offered to buy it, to take the burden off me. He wanted the house, to destroy evidence, to make sure the attic was never discovered. I looked at my phone. 11:45 p.m. Late, but not too late. I called Uncle Oberon. He answered on the third ring. Dagny, everything okay? I need you to come. To the house, now. It's late. Can it wait until tomorrow? No. Now. I found something. You need to see it. Pause. What did you find? Just come, please. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I hung up and waited. The diary on my lap, the attic upstairs, the ghost victims screaming in my memory. Exactly 20 minutes later. Knock on the door. I opened it. Uncle Oberon. 60-something. Gray-haired. Kind. Or he had always seemed kind. Until now. Until I saw something in his eyes when he looked at me. When he saw the diary in my hands. Something that closed. Hardened. You found the diary, he said. Not a question, a statement. Yes. How much did you read? Enough. Enough to know what he did, for years, and that you knew, that you helped. He came in, closed the door behind him. We need to talk. Yes, we do. Starting with, how many? How many victims did you know about? How many did you help hide? I didn't help anyone. I didn't do anything. The diary says you did. It says he gave you keys, that he told you where everything was, that he asked you to step in if Mom or I found out. Evander was my brother. What was I supposed to do? Turn him in? Destroy my own family? Yes, exactly that. He was a serial killer. He killed people. And you covered it up. I didn't cover it up. I just didn't say anything. It's different. It's not different. Silence is complicity. He came closer. Too close. Lower your voice. The neighbors. The neighbors. You're worried about the neighbors. Dad kidnapped neighbors. He tortured them to death. Above the garage. And you knew. I didn't know the details. Only that Evander had problems. Darkness he couldn't control. I tried to help him. Therapy. Medication. But what? It didn't work. So you decided to just let him kill. 9 people. 9 that I know of. Probably more. I couldn't stop him. Believe me, I tried. But when someone is so broken, so sick, let him kill. 9 people. 9 that I know of. Probably more. I couldn't stop him. Believe me, I tried. But when someone is so broken, so sick, you can't just fix them. And if I had reported him, not only would he have been destroyed, the whole family, your mother, you, would have suffered. We suffered anyway. I grew up in a house where my father kept people prisoner, where he killed them, and I didn't know. I couldn't help, because you kept me in the dark. It was to protect you. Lies. It was to protect yourselves, to keep the secret. He reached for me, trying to take the diary. Give me that. You don't need to read it. It's not good for you. I backed away. No, this is evidence of crimes, and I'm going to turn it in. To the police, give families answers, justice. Dagny, think about it. Your father is dead. He already paid. He died in prison. What do you accomplish by stirring all this up? Paid? He was arrested for fraud, not murder. He died without facing true justice. And the families, they're still searching. They still want to know what happened to their loved ones. And if you tell them, your life will be destroyed too. Daughter of a serial killer. The media will tear you apart. Your job, your friends, everything. I'm already destroyed. Tonight, finding out who my father was, who you are, that destroyed me. Everything else is consequences. Please, Dagny, think of your mother, of her memory. Do you want the world to know she was married to a monster? That maybe she knew, that she's an accomplice in the public eye. Did she know? Silence. Too long. Tell me, did Mom know? She suspected, towards the end, before Evander left. She found something, I don't know what. But when she confronted him, he scared her, threatened her, said if she talked, if she left any indication, he would hurt you. You. Oh God, Mom had known, or strongly suspected, and she kept quiet, to protect me, or because she was terrified, of the man she had slept next to for years without knowing what he really was. So she lived with that, I whispered, for 21 years, knowing or fearing, and she never said anything. It was to protect you, her daughter. She would do anything for you, except tell me the truth, except warn me, except God. How did she live with herself? I don't know. She probably didn't. He probably killed her, slowly, from the inside. I looked at Uncle Oberon, this man I had known all my life, who took me to ice cream parlors, who attended my graduation, who spoke at Mom's funeral with a broken voice. And now I knew he was a liar, an enabler, an accomplice to a serial killer. What happened to the bodies? I asked. The diary mentions disposal. Where? How? I don't know the details. Evander never shared. He just said he moved them to places where they would never be found. But you helped. Once, just once, there was a problem. A body that needed to be moved faster than normal. The police were close by, looking for a missing woman. Evander panicked. He called me. I helped him, with my truck, at night. We drove for 2 hours, to a remote forest. We dug. We buried. We never talked about it after that. Which one? Which victim? I don't know. I didn't want to know. I just helped her disappear. You're a monster. Like him. Maybe worse. Because he was sick. Broken. You. You chose, consciously, to help. To cover it up. I did what I had to do. For family. Family. I spat the word. This isn't family. This is criminal conspiracy, and I'm going to make sure you pay, like you should have paid years ago. He reached for me again, more aggressively this time, trying to grab the diary. I backed away, but my back hit the wall, trapped. His hand closed around the diary. He pulled. I fought, holding on, but he was stronger. He ripped it from my hands. You can't have this, he said. It's too dangerous for everyone. Give that back. No, I'm going to. I need to destroy it, for your sake, for everyone's sake. He headed for the fireplace. It didn't work, but there was dry wood, matches, He was trying to burn the evidence. I lunged at him, grabbing his arm. "No, you can't." We fought, both pulling at the diary, pages tearing, but he was stronger, pushing me. I fell, hitting the hard floor, pain exploding in my hip. He leaned over the fireplace, lighting a match, bringing it close to the diary. "No," I shouted, looking for something, anything. My hand found the fireplace poker, heavy metal. I grabbed it. I got up and swung. It connected with his shoulder. Not hard, but enough to surprise him, to make him drop the diary. It fell, away from the fireplace, toward me. I grabbed it and ran, toward the front door, outside, into the cold night. Behind me, Uncle Oberon shouting, "Dagny, come back, we need to work this out." But I didn't stop. I ran to my car, got in, started it, accelerated. In the rearview mirror, I saw him standing in the driveway watching. Then he took out his phone and called someone. Who? What would he do now? Try to stop me? Destroy other evidence? Run away? It didn't matter. I had the diary, and I would take it to the police now. Tonight, I drove straight to the police station at 12:30 a.m. I went in, holding the diary like a sacred relic. The officer at the desk looked up. "Can I help you?" "I need to report crimes, multiple murders, information about missing persons, it's all here." I put the diary on the desk. "Ma'am, slow down, what is this?" "My father's diary, Evander Roth. It documents kidnappings, torture, murders. Over the years, 9 victims that I know of, probably more, and in the name of an accomplice, his brother, Oberon Roth, who helped, covered it up." The officer picked up the diary. He opened it. He began to read, his expression changing from skeptical to horror, understanding. "Wait here," he said. He got up. He took the diary to the back offices. I sat down, shaking, from shock, from relief, from horror at everything I now knew. 30 minutes later, detectives appeared. 2 of them, a man and a woman, both looking at me with a mixture of pity and professionalism. "Mrs. Roth, I'm Detective Caspian Mills. This is Detective Saffron Vale. We understand you have information about missing persons cases." "Yes, it's all there. In the diary, my father, he, for years, and no one knew, no one except his brother, who helped." I spent the next 6 hours at the station, giving a statement, answering questions, describing what I found. The diary, the attic, the victims, Uncle Oberon. Officers went to the house with a search warrant. They found everything. The attic, the evidence. The stains that I would confirm were blood. DNA, probably. And they arrested Uncle Oberon that morning at his house, where he had been destroying documents when they arrived. The following days were a whirlwind. The media exploded with the story. Serial killer operated under family's nose. House of horrors in Seattle suburbs. Daughter discovers dark truth about father. My face everywhere. My name, my story. Everything Uncle Oberon had warned would happen, and he was right. My life was destroyed. I lost my job. They couldn't keep the daughter of a serial killer. Too much publicity. Too morbid. Friends drifted away. Uncomfortable. Scared. How could they trust someone whose father was a monster? But the families of the victims, they contacted me, crying, thanking me, for finally, after decades, knowing what happened. Mariska Vogel, her sister, called. 30 years, she sobbed. 30 years wondering if she suffered, where she was. Finally, we can bury her properly. Give her peace. Thessaly Crane, her mother, now in her 80s. "Thank you," she whispered, "for being brave, for not protecting monsters, like others would have done." Each call broke my heart, healing it, reminding me that I did the right thing, even though it cost everything. Uncle Oberon was tried for accessory after the fact, concealment, obstruction of justice, improper disposal of a corpse, not murder, because technically he hadn't killed, just helped hide. Sentence, 15 years. Not enough, never enough, but something. The house was demolished. After they recovered all possible evidence, after families saw, understood, cried, it couldn't stay, no one would buy it. House where a serial killer operated, too tainted, so the city bought it, teared it down. Now it's a small park, with a plaque, remembering the victims. It doesn't mention Dad, only them, their names, their lives, their losses, as it should be, and me. I moved to another state, Oregon, changed my last name from Roth to my mother's maiden name, Varden. I started therapy, years of it, processing, understanding that I am not responsible for my father's crimes, that I did not inherit his darkness, his illness, his monstrosity, that I can be a different person, better, even though I share his blood. But the nightmares, they never completely stopped. I dream about the attic, about victims screaming, calling me, blaming me. Why didn't you listen to us? Why didn't you help? And I wake up, sweating, crying, knowing that. Even though I was a child, even though I didn't know, part of me must have suspected, must have known something was wrong. And I chose, like Mom, like Uncle Oberon, not to see, not to ask, not to know, because knowing destroys everything. Like tonight, finding the diary, it destroyed my world, but it also released truth. It gave justice to those who could no longer seek it. And that has to mean something. It has to be worth something, even if it costs everything else. My father swore he loved my mother until the end, but those letters hidden in his closet told a different story. I'll kill her tonight, just like I did my previous wife. The method is simple. Antifreeze in her afternoon tea. No one will suspect a thing. My name is Isolde Crane, 36 years old, therapist in Portland, Oregon, single, no children. And until that afternoon in March, I thought I knew my family history. I thought I understood why my childhood had been so fragmented, full of gaps, of memories that didn't fit, of recurring nightmares I could never explain. My father, Quillen Crane, had died 6 months earlier. Massive heart attack, or so the death certificate said. 58 years old, too young. But he had smoked his whole life, drank, the stress of 3 failed marriages. The doctor said his heart had simply given out. Mom, his third wife, Nafili, had died when I was 14. Cancer, fast, 6 months from diagnosis to funeral. Dad had been devastated, or so it seemed, crying at the funeral, holding my hand, telling me that now we only had each other. We lived together for the next 4 years, until I went to college. I put as much distance between us as I could, not because he was a bad father after Mom died, but because something in me, something instinctive, said, stay away, don't be alone with him. I never understood that feeling, until now. The house where I had grown up, a 3-story Victorian in Salem, Oregon, had been left to me in my inheritance, along with debts. Dad had been terrible with money, mortgages, loans, credit cards maxed out. I had 2 options, sell or move out and cut expenses. Rent prices in Portland were unsustainable, so I made my decision, returned to my childhood home, temporarily, until I sorted out my finances. It had been 6 months since Dad died, 6 months that the house had been empty, waiting. It was Saturday, 2 p.m. on a rainy afternoon. I arrived with my truck full of boxes, my few possessions, ready to start over, or so I thought. The house smelled musty, damp, something else I couldn't identify. Sweet, chemical, like disinfectant mixed with something organic decomposing. I opened the windows, letting in fresh air. Rain splashed inside, but I needed ventilation. I started to settle in. My old bedroom on the 2nd floor. Cleaning, taking old sheets out of closets, looking for towels, trying to make the place livable again. Then I decided I would clean Dad's bedroom too, turn it into an office, maybe, something useful. It couldn't be his space anymore, not with him gone. His room was exactly as he had left it. Unmade bed, clothes on the floor, papers scattered about. He had lived his last months in disorder. I started with the closet, big, walk-in type, full of clothes that needed to be donated, shoe boxes, boxes of old stuff. The smell there was worse, more concentrated, as if something had been rotting in the walls, at the back of the closet, behind boxes. A wooden panel that looked loose. I'd never noticed it before. I pushed it. It moved, revealing a small space, a hole in the wall. Inside, a metal box, like a small safe. No lock, just a lid. I took it out. Heavy. Full of something. I opened it. Letters. Dozens of them. In envelopes. Some sealed. Others open. Organized by date, apparently. The oldest ones at the bottom. I took one of the oldest ones. From 1995, 3 years before I was born. I opened it. The paper was ordinary. Dad's handwriting, unmistakable, angular, neat. March 15th, 1995. Saffron is becoming a problem. She asks too many questions about money, about where it goes, why the accounts are empty. She doesn't understand that her questions complicate everything. I've made up my mind. It will be better without her. The life insurance is generous, $250,000, enough to pay off debts and start fresh. The method will be simple, anti-freeze in her afternoon tea. She drinks 3 cups a day. Predictable. It takes 2 weeks before kidney failure is irreversible. It will look like natural causes. No one suspects anti-freeze poisoning. The symptoms are too general. I'll start tomorrow. My hands trembled as I held the letter. My heart was pounding. This couldn't be real. Dad, planning to murder someone. Who was Saffron? I searched my memory. Dad had been married before Mom, twice. The first wife. She had died. Of, God, kidney failure, sudden illness, no clear explanation. Her name had been Saffron Merrick, before she married Dad. No. I picked up another letter, more recent in that pile. April 1995. April 3rd, 1995. Saffron is in the hospital. Kidney failure. Doctors confused. Running tests but can't find cause. They say it's acute idiopathic renal failure. I play the concerned husband. I cry appropriately. I hold her hand. I tell her everything will be okay. But in my head, I'm calculating. The insurance. When they can issue payment. If I need to wait a decent period before remarrying. The job has gone better than expected. 3 weeks of small doses. Now it's a matter of days, maybe hours. The doctors say there's little to be done. Dialysis could prolong it, but she's so weak, she's lost the will. I dropped the letter. Nausea rose in my throat. I ran to the bathroom. I threw up, again and again until I was empty. This couldn't be real. My father, Quillen, the man who raised me, who took me fishing, who attended my piano recitals, who cried at sad movies, a murderer. But the evidence was there, in his handwriting, his words, his confession. I went back to the closet. With trembling hands, I took more letters. I needed to know everything. The letters continued after Saffron's death, describing the funeral, the insurance payout, and, eventually, a new relationship. August 12th, 1996. I met someone. Dagny Rhodes, nurse, 32, pretty, kind, naive, perfect. And most importantly, she has life insurance through her job, $300,000, even better than Saffron. I'm being more careful this time, more patient, courting her properly. I'll wait at least a year before proposing. I don't want anyone connecting the dots between a quick marriage and Saffron's death. Oh God, Dagny Rhodes, Dad's second wife. She had also died when I was a baby. I barely remembered her. Mom, Neffley, had been the third. I looked for more letters. From 1997-1998, documenting the relationship with Dagny. Marriage. And then, February 15th, 1998. Dagny is pregnant. It wasn't in the plan. I always use protection, but apparently it failed. Now I have a problem. A baby complicates everything. If anything happens to Dagny while she's pregnant, there's more scrutiny, more questions. I'll have to wait until after the birth, a decent amount of time. Maybe 6 months, a year, but her pregnancy gives her new purpose. She's happy, radiant. She takes better care of herself, sleeps more, eats healthy. It's going to be hard to find a moment to act, but I'll be patient. I've always been patient. I was born in October 1998. According to these letters, I had been the problem, the reason Dagny lived longer than Dad planned. I kept reading. The letters after my birth were different, less frequent, but when they appeared, they were cold, calculating. March 3rd, 1999. Isolde is 5 months old. Dagny is obsessed with her. All her attention is on the baby. She ignores me completely, except to ask for money for baby things. The insurance is still worth it. But I must wait longer, until Isolde is older, more independent, maybe 2 years, 3. Dagny has mentioned wanting more children. I say we wait, that we focus on Isolde first. I secretly had a vasectomy. No more accidents. Then, a letter from 2000, when I was 2 years old. June 28th, 2000. Time to act. Isolde is old enough for daycare. Dagny has gone back to work part-time. Her routine is predictable again. This time, a different method. Anti-freeze, too obvious after saffron. Although the doctors didn't suspect anything the first time, I don't want to tempt fate. I researched alternatives. I decided accidental fall. Our stairs are steep, slippery wood. An accident waiting to happen. Oil on the top steps. Invisible, but effective. Especially in the morning when she comes down half asleep, coffee in hand, in a hurry. It's only a matter of time. The next letter was 2 weeks later. July 12th, 2000. It worked. Dagny fell this morning, the whole flight, 16 steps. She landed on her neck, killed instantly. Isolde was in her room. She heard the crash. She started crying. I had to comfort her, telling her everything was okay, that Mommy had had an accident, that the ambulance was coming. I acted appropriately. I called 911 hysterically. The paramedics arrived. They pronounced her dead at the scene. The police asked routine questions. They checked the stairs. They noticed that the wood was old, slippery. They determined it was an accident. Case closed. The insurance will pay in 60 days. Once again, free. I dropped the letters, crying now. Deep sobs I couldn't control. Dagny Rhodes, my biological mother, murdered by my father when I was 2 years old. And I had been there. I had heard. I had probably seen something, even though I couldn't remember. But Dad had said. I was in my room. I just listened. Or was there more? I looked for more letters. The next ones were about Mom, Nefili, his third wife, my stepmother, who raised me from the age of 2. September 15th, 2001, I met Nefili Voss, librarian, 35, single. No children of her own, but loves children. Perfect for Isolde, and for me. Her insurance is lower, only $150,000. But she owns her own house, no mortgage, inherited from her parents, easily worth $400,000. More in today's market. If we get married, her house becomes marital property, and if anything happens to her, I inherit everything. This will be the last one. After Nefili, I'll retire, with enough money to live comfortably, to raise Isolde properly, to finally stop. Stop, as if it were a job, a career, a hobby you would eventually give up. The following letters documented courtship. Marriage in 2003, moving into Nefili's house, this house, where I had grown up since I was 5, and then the dark letters about Nefili's death. January 3rd, 2012. Isolde is 13, difficult teenager, questioning everything, being disrespectful to Nefili. Nefili is exhausted, works full-time, takes care of the house, tries to raise a troubled girl. The stress is getting to her. Good time to act. Her death will look like the result of stress. Burnout. No one will suspect. Method this time, cigarettes. I've been smoking forever, but I'm going to start leaving open packs around the house, encouraging her to smoke more, along with my whiskey, offering it to her, saying it relaxes her, and something else, slow poison, arsenic, in her morning coffee, small doses for months. It will cause symptoms that mimic cancer. When they finally diagnose her, it will be advanced, inoperable. Cancer kills quickly, and no one questions it. Everyone has relatives who died of cancer. It's a common tragedy. Acceptable. Tears were streaming down my face. I couldn't stop reading. I needed to know everything. March 15th, 2012. Nafel is showing symptoms: fatigue, weight loss, nausea. She thinks it's stress, maybe early menopause. I tell her to see a doctor, acting like a concerned husband, but inside, knowing what they will find. Isolde notices that Nefele is sick. She asks what's wrong. I tell her it's nothing serious, that her mother, though not biological, Isolde calls her mom, just needs rest. Isolde is a good girl at heart. She helps more around the house. She cooks. She cleans, so Nefele can rest. She's sweet, in a perverse way. Seeing how she cares for the woman I'm killing, I threw up again, on the closet floor this time. Too weak to make it to the bathroom. I had taken care of Mom during her last months, thinking I was helping her, when all the while, Dad was killing her, and I innocently made her life a little more bearable before the end. June 2nd, 2012. Diagnosis confirmed: pancreatic cancer, stage 4, inoperable. 6 months to live, maybe. Nefele is devastated. Isolde is devastated. I act devastated, crying, screaming, blaming God, blaming the injustice of the universe. But inside, I celebrate. It worked perfectly. The doctors don't even consider alternative causes, because pancreatic cancer is known to be fast, aggressive, without early signs. The arsenic mimicked the symptoms well enough, and now the real disease will take over. I don't need to do anything else, just wait. Mom died in December 2012, 8 months after the diagnosis. I was 14, and I had been there, every day, holding her hand, reading to her, talking to her, as she faded away. And Dad had been there too, crying, seemingly broken, while secretly knowing that he had caused it all. The letters after Mom's death were different again. No plans for remarriage, no new victims, as he had promised. He retired. But there was something else. Letters about me, about raising me, about, oh God. February 15th, 2013. Isolde is having nightmares, screaming at night, about falling, about blood, about the bad man. She's seeing a therapist at school, concerned about trauma from losing Nefele. But I suspect it's more. I fear she's remembering. Dagny. The fall. Maybe she saw more than I thought. Maybe she wasn't in her room when it happened. Maybe she was on the stairs, watching. If she remembers completely, if she tells someone, it's all over. I need to be more careful, more attentive, make sure those memories stay buried. Oh God, I had seen it. I had seen Dad kill Dagny, my birth mother, and I had blocked it out, repressed it. But my subconscious remembered, in nightmares. April 3rd, 2013. Isolde asked about Dagny today, first time in years. She asked how she died, what exactly happened. I told her the official story. She fell down the stairs. Terrible accident. We were all devastated. She asked where she was when it happened. I told her she was in her room, that she heard but didn't see. She seemed to accept it, but there was something in her eyes, as if part of her knew I was lying, as if she had different memories. Darker ones. I need to keep her close, watch her, make sure she never investigates further. The following letters documented years of surveillance. Dad controlling my life, my friendships, my activities, all under the guise of being a protective father, but really, making sure I never discovered the truth. When I left for college, the letters expressed relief and concern. Relief that I was gone. Concern that without his direct supervision, I might start to remember, to investigate. September 10th, 2016, Isolde left for college today. Portland State. Far enough away for independence, but close enough to keep an eye on her. I already installed monitoring software on her laptop. I can see everything she searches for, everything she writes. If she starts investigating deaths, I'll know. I also have a friend in the police department. He'll alert me if she asks questions, requests records. Anything that indicates suspicion, I'm prepared for any eventuality. More letters, years of them, until 2024, just months before his supposed death. January 15th, 2024, I have cancer, lung, stage 3. Ironic, after all I did to others, now it's happening to me. Treatment is an option, but success is doubtful and expensive. I prefer to use the remaining money for other purposes. I have decided. I'm going to fake my death. Heart attack. Easy to fake with a corrupt doctor I know. Death certificate, immediate cremation, no autopsy, no questions. Why? Because Isolde, now a therapist, specializing in trauma. She's starting to remember. I know. She calls me, asks questions about her childhood, about Dagny, about the stairs. It's only a matter of time before she connects the dots. And when she does, she'll come to me, confront me, possibly report me. I need to disappear before that happens, make her believe I'm dead, watch from a distance, and, if necessary, intervene. Because even dead, I can protect my secrets. Through lawyers, trusts, loyal people I will make true guardians. And if Isolde discovers everything, despite my precautions, I will have to take action, even against my own daughter, because freedom, my freedom, is worth more than any family ties. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. Dad was alive. He had faked his death. To what end? To watch me. To make sure I never discovered the truth. But I had already discovered it. Now, at this moment, reading his confessions. And if he was alive, if he was watching, did he know I was here, in the house, that I had found the letters? I searched the box. One last letter, in an envelope, undated, addressed, to me, to Isolde. With trembling hands, I opened it. My dear daughter, if you're reading this, it means you found my hiding place, smarter than I calculated, or more persistent. Both traits I taught you. Now you know everything, what I did, why I did it, how I did it. And you're probably wondering, what happens now? Will you report me? Will you try to bring me to justice? Let me clarify, you can't. Because technically, I'm dead. The death certificate is real, legally binding. Any attempt to report my crimes will be complicated by my official status as deceased. And evidence. These letters, they're just that. Letters. No bodies to exhume. No autopsies to review. Just written confessions from a dead man. Insufficient for a criminal case. But here's the interesting part. You know now. And knowledge is a burden. The question you'll carry, what do I do with this information? Option 1, nothing. You keep it secret. Like your mother Nefel kept her suspicions. Like your childhood buried memories. Like families often do. You protect the legacy. You let the dead rest. Option 2, you speak up. You contact the police, the victims' families, the media. You destroy the dead man's reputation, exposing crimes that can never be legally punished. Gaining what? Closure for others, moral peace for yourself. But here's the catch. If you speak up, if you expose, you become a target because even though I'm dead, I have resources, people, ways to intervene, to ensure that the truth remains buried, permanently, Do you understand what I'm saying? If you pursue this, if you seek justice, you become next. Not because I want you to. You are my daughter, but because necessity trumps sentiment. So you choose silence and safety, or truth and consequences. You have a week to decide. After that, if you haven't made a public move, I'll know you chose wisely, and you can live your life in peace, with knowledge but without action. If not, well, I'll read about your death in the newspaper. Another tragic accident, like so many others. Your father who loves you despite everything, Quillen. The letter fell from my hands. The room was spinning. This was a threat, clear, direct. He would give me a week. Then, if I didn't keep quiet, he would kill me. Like he had killed 3 women before me. I needed to get out. Now, take the letters, go to the police, before he knew I had found them. I got up, grabbing the box, the letters, evidence. Then I heard something, downstairs. The front door, closing, the latch turning. Someone had come in and closed the door, locked it from the inside. My blood ran cold. Footsteps, on the first floor, slow, deliberate, climbing the stairs, towards the second floor, towards me. I got into the closet, closing the door, trying to silence my breathing. My heart was pounding so hard that I was sure they could hear it. The footsteps reached the second floor, continued down the hall, toward Dad's bedroom, toward me. The bedroom door opened, footsteps entering, stopping, as if the person was sniffing, listening, searching. Isolde. A male voice, familiar, impossible. I know you're here. Your truck is outside. And you found my little treasure, didn't you? It was him. Dad, Quillen, alive, here. Come out. Let's talk, like a family, about what to do with all this. Inconvenient knowledge. I didn't move. I didn't breathe, praying he wouldn't open the closet. Isolde, don't be difficult. I'm your father. I don't want to hurt you, but if you force me, I'll do whatever it takes, like I always have. Footsteps approaching the closet, hand on the knob, turning. The door opened, and there he was. Dad, Quillen Crane, supposedly dead for 6 months, standing, looking at me, with an expression that mixed disappointment and something colder, more calculating. There you are, he said softly. My little girl, so curious. You always were, even as a child. Always asking questions you shouldn't, seeing things you shouldn't. You're dead, I whispered. We cremated you. I was at the funeral. They cremated someone, a body from the morgue. No one claimed it. No one missed it. Death certificate with my name on it, but ashes, those were strangers, not me. Why? You already read it, because you're smart, dangerous. You were starting to remember, to ask questions. I needed to withdraw, observe from death, see if you would finally leave the past buried. You killed 3 women, my mother, Nefele, Saffron. I did what was necessary to survive, to thrive. Do you know how difficult it is in this world, especially for a middle-class man, without special education, without advantages? I had to create my own opportunities by murdering, by obtaining resources that they wouldn't need after death, and in passing, freeing myself from relationships that had become burdensome. You're sick. I'm practical. There's a difference. And me. Were you going to kill me too? Your own daughter. I hoped I wouldn't have to. That's why the letter, giving you a choice, silence or alternative. But it seems you've already made your decision. By coming here, by searching, by finding. I backed deeper into the closet. I'm not going to let you get away with this. No. And what will you do? Call the police. With what evidence? Letters that I could say you forged. My presence here. I'm dead. Legally. How can a dead man be charged with murder? There are ways. DNA, records, witnesses. Witnesses? Who? You. You were a baby when Dagny died. Your testimony is worthless. And the others, Saffron, Nefele. No witnesses. Just death that looked natural, accidental, expected. Someone will believe. Someone will investigate. Maybe, but it will take time. Years, probably. And in the meantime, you will be, unfortunately, suffering your own accident, here, in this old house, with dangerous stairs, with old electrical wiring. So many ways tragedy can strike. He approached, hand outstretched, as if to caress my face, a paternal gesture, but his eyes, cold, without real emotion. "It doesn't have to be this way," he said. "You can still choose. Keep quiet. Live your life. Forget what you found. And I will disappear again. Permanently this time. You will never see me. You'll never hear me. You'll just be an orphan living in an inherited house. What if I don't? What if I scream? What if I fight? Then I'll do what I should have done when you started remembering at 13. What I put off out of stupid sentimentality. I'll silence you, permanently, and I'll create a convincing scene. A robbery gone wrong, an intruder, tragedy. No one will suspect. Because no one suspects they've never suspected. They'll suspect now, because I sent a message to a friend saying that I found something important at Dad's house about his past. That if anything happens to me, check the closet in his room, look for a metal box. A lie, a complete lie. But I said it with conviction, hoping he would believe me. His expression changed. Calculation. Evaluation. "You're lying." "Am I? Do you want to take that risk? If you kill me and my friend finds evidence, an investigation will be opened, your death will be questioned, everything will fall apart. Show me the message, proof that you sent it. My phone is downstairs, in the kitchen, next to my keys. If you want to check, go get it. I'll wait here." He hesitated. Then, "We'll go together. You're not stupid. You'll try to escape if I give you the chance." She grabbed my arm, hard, pulling, out of the closet, out of the bedroom, toward the stairs, where Dagny had died, where Dad had pushed her, or let her fall, after oiling the steps. "No," I tried to resist. "Let go of me. Walk, now, or I'll drag you. Your choice." I forced myself to walk. Down, every step was agony, pure terror, waiting for him to push me, to reenact Dagny's murder, with me in her place. But he didn't. We reached the first floor, the kitchen. My phone was there, on the counter, where I had left it. "Take it, show me the message." I took it, hands shaking, opened messages, showing. Empty list, no message sent. His face hardened. "You lied." "Yes." "Mistake." His hand moved, toward his pocket, taking something out. Syringe, with clear liquid. "What is that?" "Insulin, massive dose, will cause shock, cardiac arrest, will look like natural death, especially in a young woman with stress from recently losing her father, from moving back to her childhood home, from dealing with grief. No, please, I'm your daughter, your blood. And that's why I'm giving you this. Quick death, painless, more mercy than the others, more than you deserve after making this difficult." He approached, syringe raised, looking for a vein in my arm. I fought, kicking, scratching, screaming. He was stronger. He had always been stronger. 58, but still in shape, holding me down, pressing my arm. Then, I remembered something from my training, from self-defense classes I took in college, about pressure points, about how to break free from holds. I twisted, abruptly, my elbow hitting his side, hard. In the kidneys. He growled, his grip loosening, just for a second. Enough. I broke free, I ran, toward the front door. Behind me, his footsteps fast. "Isolde, you can't escape. This is my house, my property." I reached the door, the lock. I'd locked it when he came in. I looked for the latch, turning it. The door opened. I went out. into the cold night. Rainy. I ran to my truck, looking for keys. No. They were inside too, in the kitchen. I couldn't go back. He was there, blocking the way. I ran into the street, toward the neighbor's house, screaming, "Help! Please, someone!" Lights came on, door opening. Older man looking out, confused, concerned. My father. He tried to kill me. "Call the police, please." "Your father, Quillen. But he died." "He didn't die. He's alive, and he attacked me. Please call now." The neighbor hesitated. Then he saw my expression, my terror, and he nodded. He took out his phone. He dialed 911. I looked toward the house, Dad standing in the doorway, looking at me, calculating. Then, he left, back inside, door closing. Police arrived 10 minutes later. Sirens, lights, officers coming out, asking what happened. I told them. Everything, rambling, about the letters, the confessions, Dad alive, syringe, attack. They looked at each other, clear skepticism. "Ma'am, your father was declared dead 6 months ago. Death certificate, cremation. Are you sure it wasn't someone else? An intruder who looked like him?" "No, it was him. His voice, his face, everything." "All right, we'll check the house. We'll make sure it's safe." They went in, with flashlights, guns drawn, searching. 20 minutes later, they came out. "There's no one there. The house is empty." "What? No, he was there." "We checked every room, every closet, basement, attic. No one." "Are you sure you didn't imagine?" "I didn't imagine it. The letters, in the master bedroom closet, in a metal box. Go see." They went back upstairs, to the bedroom, to the closet. They returned. "There's no box, no letters, just old clothes in regular boxes." "No, they were there. I read them. Murder confessions, everything." "Mrs. Crane, you've been through a lot of stress recently, losing your father, moving back to your childhood home. Sometimes the mind plays tricks, especially in old houses, with history, with memories." "I'm not crazy. He was here. He attacked me." But in their eyes, I could see they didn't believe me. They thought I was having an episode, a nervous breakdown, hallucinations of grief. Eventually they left, telling me to call if I remembered anything else, suggesting I see a therapist, that maybe I shouldn't stay alone in the house tonight. But I had nowhere else to go. All my things were here, and if I left, Dad would win. He would keep his secrets. He would remain free, so I stayed. That night, in the house, knowing he had been here, that he had taken the letters, erased evidence, leaving me with no proof, with nothing but my words against nothing, against a legally dead man who was apparently a ghost, or a delusion of a grieving mind. I locked all the doors, windows. I pushed furniture against the entrances, creating barricades, and I sat in the living room with the lamp on, kitchen knife in my hand, phone with 911 partially dialed, ready to complete if I heard anything, waiting, listening, every creak of the old house making me jump, because I knew he would come back, eventually, to finish what he started, and this time, there would be no evidence to steal. There would be no way to prove what I knew. It would just be his word against mine, dead against alive. And no one believes dead people can talk, except through their traumatized daughters, who know the truth but can't prove it. That is the worst prison. Knowledge without validation, horror without witnesses. Living in the house where my father murdered, knowing he lurks, waiting to silence me, like he silenced all the other women in his life. And I can't leave, because leaving is admitting defeat. It's letting him win. So I stay, night after night, waiting, with a knife, with a phone, waiting for him to return, to finish his work. Or for me, finally, to find a way to prove the truth, to expose the monster, to give his victims the justice they deserve, even if it costs me my own life, because some truths are worth dying for, and some monsters need to be stopped, no matter the cost. The family always joked about our curse of longevity, until I stole Dad's medical records from the hospital and read on the first page, Viduva's disease, terminal genetic degeneration, information withheld from descendants to preserve the family line, patient aware and consenting to protocol of silence. My name is Evander Ashford, 33 years old, freelance translator in Seattle, single, no kids, thank God. And until that Wednesday in April, I thought my increasing fatigue was work stress, that the joint pain was from sitting too many hours, that the occasional bleeding gums were a lack of vitamin C. I never, ever thought my body was betraying me from within, genetically programmed to rot, and that my family knew it before I was even born. It all started 3 weeks earlier, when Dad, Quillen Ashford, collapsed in his office. Massive heart attack, they said. At 62, they took him to Sacred Heart Medical Center. I rushed from my apartment, arriving just as they were stabilizing him in the ICU. I spent that night in the waiting room. Mom, Saffron, was strangely calm. Too calm. As if she'd been expecting this. As if it weren't a surprise, but inevitability. "He'll be fine," she told me, stroking my hand. "We Ashfords are resilient. We endure." That word. We endure. Not we heal or we recover. We endure. As if life were about enduring, not living. Dad survived that night and the next, but he remained critical. The doctors spoke in circles. Complications. Pre-existing conditions. Complex medical history. On the third day, Mom went home to rest. I stayed, exhausted but unable to leave, and sometime in the early hours of the morning, alone in the fluorescent-lit hospital corridors, I made a decision that would change everything. I went to medical records, the basement department, minimal security at 3 a.m., and using a visitor ID card that shouldn't have given me access but did because the lock was old and the system neglected. I went in. Old computers, physical and digital files. I searched. Ashford, Quillen. The digital file was encrypted, higher security level than normal. Why? For a 62-year-old heart patient. Why so much protection? But physical files. Those were in cabinets, with simple locks, and the hairpin in my hair worked. Something I had learned from a YouTube video years ago, practiced for fun. I never thought I would use it to steal my father's medical records. I opened the cabinet. I looked for the last name. I found the folder. Thick. Too thick for a relatively healthy man. I took it out. I sat on the floor, between rows of cabinets, and I started reading. The first few pages were routine. Annual checkups, minor prescriptions, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, normal for a man his age. Then, in the middle of the file, a separate section, marked with a red label. Confidential, only Dr. Merrick may access. Dr. Theon Merrick. I'd never heard of him. He wasn't the family doctor I knew. He wasn't the current cardiologist. Who was he? I opened the section, and the first page stopped my heart. Diagnosis: Viduva disease. Stage 3. Progressive hereditary tissue degeneration onset. Estimated at age 28. Progression: accelerated since age 55. Prognosis: 2 to 5 years without experimental intervention. Status: participant in protocol, VI 23, ages 15 over 30. Offspring: 1 son, Evander. Born 1991. Status unknown, pending mandatory genetic testing at age 35 per family agreement. The words swam. I couldn't process. Viduva disease? Never heard of it. Hereditary, experimental protocol, and me? Status unknown. Mandatory testing at age 35. I was 33, 2 years before they told me, if they ever planned to tell me. I kept reading. The next document was a medical description of the disease. Viduva disease, VD, is an extremely rare autosomal dominant genetic disorder that affects approximately 1 in 5 million people. Caused by a mutation in the VDV1 gene, It results in progressive degeneration of connective tissue, internal organs, and eventually the nervous system. Early symptoms, 20 to 30 years, chronic fatigue, joint pain, bleeding gums, nose, frequent bruising, slow healing. Intermediate symptoms, 30 to 45 years. Intermittent organ failure, kidneys, liver, internal bleeding, muscle degeneration, severe chronic pain, visible tissue deformities. Late symptoms, 45 plus. Multiple organ failure, massive bleeding, cognitive impairment, severe deformities. Death, typically from cerebral hemorrhage or cardiac arrest. There is no cure. Experimental treatments can prolong life, but cannot stop progression. Most patients die before age 50. Some with aggressive treatment reach 62 to 65 years of age. Genetic counseling. Due to autosomal dominant nature, 50% chance of transmission to offspring. Many affected families choose not to reproduce. Others participate in experimental studies in hopes of an eventual cure. The paper trembled in my hands. This was it. A genetic death sentence. And Dad had it. He had had it for decades, and a 50% chance. I had a 50% chance of having it too. I searched for more. I needed to know more. The next document was Family Medical History, Ashford Line. Generation 1, Oberon Ashford, paternal great-grandfather. Diagnosed with EV at age 42. Died at age 47 from a brain hemorrhage. 2 children, Caledonia, affected. Zenobia, unaffected. Generation 2, Caledonia Ashford, paternal grandmother. Diagnosed with EV at age 35. Experimental treatment allowed her to survive to age 61. 1 son, Quillen, affected. Zenobia Ashford, not affected. 3 children, none affected. Line ended. Generation 3, Quillen Ashford, father. Diagnosed with EV at age 28. Currently 62. Participant in successful experimental V23 protocol. 1 registered child, Evander, status pending. Critical note, records indicate 2 additional pregnancies for Saffron Ashford, wife. 1989, male, positive prenatal EV diagnosis, terminated at family request at week 28. 1993, female positive EV postnatal diagnosis at 6 months of age. Euthanized under family compassion protocol with Dr. Merrick's approval. Only Evander, 1991, survived birth. Genetic status deliberately not tested by family decision until age 35, per agreement with experimental program. The folder fell from my hands. The cold basement floor pressed against me as the room spun. Siblings. I had had siblings, an older brother, a younger sister, and they had been killed because they had the disease, terminated, euthanized, clinical words for murder, for deciding that lives were not worth living. And me? Why did they let me live if they knew the risk? If there was a 50% chance, why did they take the chance? I forced myself to keep reading. I needed to understand. The next document. Protocol V23, participants and results. It was a list, dozens of names, patients with Vaduva disease, all receiving experimental treatment with results. Quillen Ashford, start of treatment age 28, 1989. Protocol, experimental gene therapy, plus immunosuppressants, plus synthetic tissue regenerators. Results, significantly slowed progression. Subject has survived 34 years, post-diagnosis versus average 15 to 20 years. Side effects, minor internal tissue deformities, chronic pain managed with opioids, lifelong dependence on immune suppressants. Status, active, continues monthly treatment. Further down, another entry that chilled me. Evander Ashford, enrolled in modified protocol, age 2, 1993. Note, no confirmed diagnosis. Family requested preventive, experimental treatment for child with 50% genetic risk. Protocol, attenuated version V23, administered as vaccines and vitamins so as not to alert the subject. Objective, prevent manifestation of EV if gene present, or strengthen systems if gene absent. Results, subject shows normal development. No apparent symptoms at age 33. Definitive genetic testing pending at age 35 as per family agreement. Unknown side effects. Long-term preventive treatment has not been sufficiently studied. Possible complications in the development of internal organs, immune system, or connective tissue. Status: under remote observation. My stomach churned. I ran to the nearest bathroom. I vomited, violently, until I was empty. They had been drugging me since I was 2 years old, with experimental treatments that they didn't even know I needed, that they didn't even know what they would do in the long term, all disguised as childhood vaccines, as vitamins, as supplements that Mom insisted I take to grow strong. And they never knew whether I had the disease or not. They just drugged me, just in case, turning my body into a scientific experiment without my consent. I went back to the files, shaking, knowing there was more. Worse, I found it. Notes from Dr. Merrick, Ashford case. Diary entries from a doctor who had been dealing with this nightmare for decades. March 15, 1989. Saffron Ashford contacted me, 6 months pregnant. Prenatal tests confirm that male fetus carries VDV1 gene. Requests termination. Quillen consents. Although late in pregnancy, procedure is possible under special medical clauses. I spoke with them about options, about living with the disease, about available experimental treatments, but Quillen insists he doesn't want a child who suffers as he suffers, as his mother suffered. I respect his decision, although personally, I question the ethics of ending a life because of a disease that may not manifest for decades, that we may be able to cure by then. The procedure is scheduled for next week. June 3, 1991. Saffron's second pregnancy. This time they decide not to do prenatal testing. They say they want a child, that they trust the 50% chance, that if it's positive, they'll decide later. A healthy boy is born. Evander, without genetic testing, deliberately. Quillen confessed to me their plan: if the child eventually shows symptoms, they will put him on experimental treatment early, as a guinea pig for preventive treatment that could save future generations. If he shows no symptoms, if he's lucky, if he's the 50% who isn't affected, all the better. But they won't know for years. He asked me not to genetically test the child until he is at least 35, to allow time for preventive treatment to work if necessary, and time for him to live without the burden of knowing if he is cursed. I agreed, against my better judgment, but Quillen is a friend as well as a patient, and he understands his disease better than anyone. August 22, 1993. Tragedy. Saffron had her third child, a girl, Cressida. Beautiful, healthy in appearance, but at 6 months, symptoms: excessive bleeding from small cuts, bruises appearing for no reason, tests confirmed, EV positive. Quillen and Saffron devastated, but also determined. They don't want their daughter to suffer years of deterioration, of pain, of indignity. They asked me for the compassion protocol, euthanasia, legal in specific medical circumstances with the right approvals, and terminal EV in infants qualifies. I tried to convince them to try treatment, to give her a chance, but Quillen showed me his own deformities under his clothes, tissue that had twisted, organs that worked but were malformed by treatments, pain he managed with constant medication. "I don't want this for my daughter," he said. "It's life, but what kind of life?" I performed the procedure, quick, painless. Cressida fell asleep and didn't wake up. Saffron cried for weeks. Quillen shut down emotionally. And Evander, the 2-year-old boy, he never knew he had a sister, that she existed for 6 months and then was erased. They told the extended family it was crib death, sudden infant death syndrome. No one questioned it. No one knew about the disease. The family secret continues. I closed the file. I couldn't read anymore. Not now. The weight was too much. Cressida, my sister, murdered at 6 months because Dad didn't want her to suffer like he did, and the brother before me. Not even born. Terminated in the womb, because the test said he was doomed. And me, I was the experiment. The one they kept alive. Not out of love, not because they wanted a child, but to see if preventive treatment would work. To use my body as a test for future Ashford generations. I got up. I took the entire file. I hid it under my jacket. And I left the hospital. I needed to confront someone. Mom. Anyone. I needed answers that the documents didn't provide. But first, I went home. To my apartment. And I searched. Vaduva disease. On the internet. Almost nothing. Extremely rare. A couple of academic medical articles mentioning the genetic mutation, the symptoms, the lack of a cure, and something else, a form, small, private, for families affected by EV. I registered, using a fake name, and I read stories, dozens of them. Families destroyed by this disease, children who died in their 30s, parents who watched their children's bodies deteriorate, pain, suffering, impossible decisions about reproduction, about treatment, about when to let go, and a post. Recent. That stopped me. Is anyone else on Protocol V23? My husband has been on it for 15 years. It has extended his life, but the side effects, the things it's doing to him inside. Sometimes I wonder if it's worth it, if quantity of life matters more than quality. Replies below. Other families, other patients, describing the same thing, extended life, but at what cost? My sister's organs are malformed from the treatments. They work, but not properly. She is in constant pain, and the deformities under her skin, lumps, masses, tissue that grew where it shouldn't. My father has been on V23 for 20 years. He looks normal on the outside, but in his last surgery, the doctor said his internal organs look alien, twisted, patched with synthetic tissue. It's a miracle they still work. This is what Dad had, inside, after 34 years of treatment. This is what I might have had, after 31 years of preventive treatment. I got up, I went to the bathroom, I took off my shirt. I looked in the mirror, looking for signs. Anything. My skin was normal. Pale because I worked indoors. But no obvious deformities, no lumps, no masses. But inside. What was going on inside? The early symptoms on the medical list. Chronic fatigue, joint pain, bleeding gums. I had them. I'd had them for years. Blamed on stress, poor posture, not flossing enough. But what if? What if they were early symptoms? What if I had the disease, and the preventive treatment had only delayed manifestation, but not prevented it? Or worse, what if I didn't have the disease, but the treatment had damaged me anyway? Creating problems I shouldn't have. There was no way to know, without genetic testing, without comprehensive exams. But something inside me, instinct, growing terror, told me something was wrong, very wrong. I got dressed, grabbed my phone, called Mom. Evander, honey, how are you? Still at the hospital? I need to see you. Now, at your house. Everything okay? Your dad? This isn't about Dad. It's about me, and things I found, things you need to explain. Silence. Then. What did you find? You know what? I'll be there in 20 minutes. I hung up before he could answer. I grabbed the stolen file and drove. The house I grew up in was half an hour from my apartment, in a quiet Seattle suburb, a 2-story house with a well-kept yard. Everything perfect. Everything normal. Except it wasn't normal. It was a house of secrets, of lies, of medical experiments on an unconscious child. I arrived. Mom opened the door before I rang the bell, her face pale, eyes red, as if she'd been crying. Let's go inside, she said simply. I followed her into the living room. I sat down. I threw the file on the table between us. Explain, I said. Everything. She looked at the file. She didn't even touch it. Where did you... Does it matter? I have it. I read it. I know about Vaduva's disease, about Dad, about my dead brothers, about what they did to me. Tears ran down her face. You never should have known. Not like this. Not until what? Until I was 35. Until you decided it was time to tell me that I might be dying. That you've been drugging me for 30 years with experimental crap. It was to protect you. Bullshit. It was to use me, as a guinea pig, to see if preventive treatment would work. That's not true. We love you. We wanted you to have a chance. If you had the disease, starting treatment early would give you a better life than your father had. And what if I don't have it? What if I'm one of the lucky 50%? Then what? Did you hurt me for nothing? We didn't know. There was no way to know without testing. And testing would have meant living in fear. Living waiting for symptoms. If you didn't know, you could live normal. But it wasn't normal. Nothing about this is normal. You killed 2 of my siblings. We saved them from suffering. Cressida would have died anyway, before she was 10 probably, but with years of pain, of deterioration. Your father didn't want that for her. What about the first child, the one they terminated before birth? Same reasoning. We didn't want to bring a child into the world to suffer and die. Then why me? Why did you keep me? Why didn't you terminate me too? She broke down then, sobbing. Because we needed to know if the preventive treatment worked, if we could save future Ashfords, and Quillen, your father. He insisted, he said we had to give it a chance, that if there was a way to break the curse, it was worth trying. So, I'm an experiment? Is that what I am? You're our son, whom we love, but yes, you are also hope, for our family, for futures that may not suffer as we have suffered. I stood up, too angry to sit. What if I get sick? What if the symptoms start? What then? Then we'll put you on full protocol, like your father. We'll extend your life as long as possible. Life? Would you call what Dad has life? With deformed organs and constant pain and dependence on experimental drugs. He has lived 34 years post-diagnosis. Without treatment, he would have died 15 years ago. At your age. Isn't that worth something? I don't know. I don't know what's worth anything. I went to the bathroom, needing water, needing space. I looked in the mirror again, and then I saw it. On my side, below my lower ribs, a small bruise, black. Not blue or purple like a normal bruise, black, like ink under the skin. I lifted my shirt, looking closer. The bruise was the size of a coin, and around it, the skin looked different, slightly sunken, as if the tissue underneath was collapsing. No, I whispered. No, no, no. I left the bathroom, running. Mom standing, alarmed. What's wrong? This, I lifted my shirt, showing her the bruise. What is this? Her face turned gray. When did it appear? I don't know. Today. Maybe yesterday. What is it? It's one of the first signs. Black bruises. Where connective tissue begins to fail. Where blood vessels break internally. The room spun. I sat down, hard, on the floor. So I have it. The disease. I have it. We don't know that yet. It could be a side effect of the preventive treatment, or it could be the onset of symptoms. We need to do tests, complete tests, now. Now. Why now? Why not years ago? Why wait until symptoms appear? Because your father, Quillen, insisted. He said you should have as normal a life as possible, without fear, without knowledge of a possible sentence, and if symptoms never appeared, if you were lucky, you would never need to know. But what if I do have them? What if I'm unlucky? Then we treat, aggressively, like we treated your father, and you wait. You wait for us to extend your life long enough for a cure to be found. I stood up, unsteady. I need to go. I need to process this. Evander, please, let me help. Let me... help me. Like you helped by keeping secrets. Like you helped by drugging me without my consent. Like you helped by killing my brothers. We loved them. We did the best we could in an impossible situation. The best? You would call this the best? I walked toward the door. Then I remembered. Something in the files. Something about the compassion protocol. I turned around. What did you say before? About whether the symptoms start? That we would put you on treatment? No. What else? What you didn't say. She didn't answer, but her eyes, terror in them, and something else, guilt. The compassion protocol, I said slowly. The one they used on Cressida. Is it still an option? Evander, no. Answer me. Yes, legally. With the right approvals. If the patient is suffering, if quality of life is unsustainable, euthanasia is an option. And you plan to use it on me? If I got really bad, if treatment didn't work. Silence. Answer enough. There is something, she said finally. In the kitchen. Cabinet above refrigerator. Jar labeled Quillin supplements. But they're not supplements. What are they? It's, if the time came, if the pain was too much, if there were no other options. It's a quick way, painless, to end it. Poison. Compassion. You've been keeping poison. For me, for how long? Since you were 20, when you entered the age of risk, just in case. I laughed. A broken sound, hysterical. Just in case your experiment failed, just in case you needed to clean up your mistake. You kept poison, ready, waiting. That's not it. It's in case you asked for it. If you reached a point where you'd rather die than continue suffering. Like Cressida, who had no choice. Who you decided for. She was a baby. She couldn't choose. We chose mercy over suffering. And me, if I get sick, if the symptoms progress, will you pressure me? Will you tell me that poison is the better option? That I'm a burden? Never. Only if you ask for it. Only if you decide you've had enough. I went to the kitchen. I opened the cabinet above the refrigerator. There, a bottle of vitamins, with a handwritten label, Quillin supplements. I grabbed it. The pills inside were bright blue. They didn't look like vitamins. They looked like something else. Something else. Something manufactured, synthetic. How many? I asked. How many to make it work? Evander, please, don't think like that, not now. There is treatment. There is hope. How many? 3. With water. You'll fall asleep in 5 minutes. You won't wake up. Painless. Peaceful. I put the bottle in my pocket. I'm leaving now. Don't contact me, not until I decide what to do. Evander, you said it was my choice. Then let me choose. I left. To my car. I drove. No destination, just getting away. I ended up in a park. One where Dad used to take me as a child. Pushing me on the swings, laughing as we played. Had it been real? Any moment with him? Or had it all been an act? Scientific surveillance of his experiment? I sat down on a bench. I took out the bottle. The blue pills. So simple. 3 pills and it would all be over. No more uncertainty. No more waiting for symptoms. No more being a guinea pig. Just the end. But also defeat, letting them win, validating their decisions, proving they were right to keep the poison ready. I took out my phone. I searched. Where to get genetic testing. Without going through family, without permission, I found a clinic in Seattle. Private genetic testing, results in 72 hours. No family consultation required. I made an appointment for tomorrow. Finally, I would know if I was doomed, or if experimental treatment had damaged me for nothing. Then I went to the emergency room, different hospital, not where Dad was. I showed them the bruise. How long have you had this? Asked the doctor. I noticed it today, but maybe longer. Any other symptoms? Bleeding? Fatigue? Yes, but I thought it was stress. We're going to run some tests, blood work, maybe imaging, to be sure. I spent the next 4 hours in the hospital. Tests, ultrasounds, CT scan of my torso. Finally, the doctor returned. His expression was serious. "Mr. Ashford, there are abnormalities in your internal tissues, and your blood tests show problems with clotting and liver function. Do you have a family history of blood disorders?" "Yes. There is a rare genetic condition called Vaduva disease." His eyes widened. "Have you been diagnosed?" "No, but my father has it. There's a 50% chance I have it too." "You need to see a specialist, a geneticist, a hematologist. The images show unusual tissue growth in your liver, and your spleen is enlarged. Those are signs that something is wrong at a systemic level." "Could I die from this?" "Without treatment, without proper diagnosis. Eventually, yes. But if it is what I suspect, there are options. Experimental treatments that have extended lives. I know the treatments, I know the side effects. Then you know you have a decision to make. Treatment and life extension, or no treatment and, well, limited time." I returned to my apartment that night, with prescriptions for pain, with referrals to specialists, with the knowledge that something was definitely wrong, although still unconfirmed exactly what. The bruise on my side had grown, now the size of my palm, and I could feel something underneath, as if tissue was moving, changing, breaking. I took off my clothes. I looked in the full-length mirror, looking for other signs, and I found them. Small black bruises on my thighs, on my back, on my shoulders, appearing like a dark constellation on my skin. This was the beginning, progression, my body betraying me, or damaged by treatment, or attacked by disease. It didn't matter which. The result was the same. I was falling apart from the inside. I sat on the edge of my bed, the bottle of blue pills on my nightstand. Temptation. Escape, but also surrender. I decided I would wait for the genetic results. I would know for sure, and then I would decide. Treatment and possible extension of life with guaranteed suffering, or a quick end on my own terms. Not good options, just options. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake, feeling my body, every pain, every pulse, wondering what was happening under my skin, what deformities were growing, what organs were failing, wondering how much time I had left, years, months, weeks, wondering if I had ever been more than an experiment to my family, more than hope for a future cure, or if my whole life, from conception, had been a sacrifice to preserve a cursed bloodline that should have ended generations ago. And outside, somewhere in Seattle, Dad lay in the hospital, with his deformed organs and his pain medicated and his 34 years of artificially extended life, waiting, as I waited, for answers that might never come, for a cure that might never exist, living, if this could be called living, enduring, as the Ashfords had always endured, until they could no longer endure,